photos, friends.
So if I need to get a hold of you instead of texting you, I should go to...
Your best bet is to write a note, take a photo of the note with your dog, and post it to Pod Therapy.
Hey, Jim,
BT Dubs, we really got to talk about
Jim,
taxes.
2025 taxes are due. We need to talk. Okay.
Call me back, you dumbass.
Layla said so.
Yeah, put it in the dog's voice, please. Hey, Jim, it's me, Layla, again. Here with your annual reminder. It's time to talk with Nick about taxes. All right, we probably should start this show.
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Do that. But I think I've proven myself on the movie's front. I'm sure you're all surprised.
Yeah, I think we accomplished nothing.
Well,
nothing has been crossed off the list yet.
Yeah. This episode is made possible by our deity, the Dark Lord himself, Jim Spasha, and our therapy partners, Dirty B and Pickets. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. No joke this week. We're just going to go right into this.
Yeah.
And now broadcasting from the
You usually
churn.
tell a joke there?
That's Jim. That's Whitney. That's Jacob. I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod
Oh,
Therapy.
you introduced Jacob. Oh,
Oh,
punishments. Oh,
yeah,
geez.
punishment.
He snaps back.
Well, Jacob, I know you've been talking a lot about how you are really motivated to get into shape this year.
Yeah.
I have?
Yes, you have. And
The
good
row
news,
machine.
I feel like I haven't mentioned that.
you talk about it all the time off air. I
don't
know,
think I
don't know
have.
why you're being so coy now. But
I don't know what fish have to do with anything.
good news,
You have those too, right?
He does. He does talk about those more.
the Pod Therapy Fitness
Fitness
Challenge
Challenge.
is back.
Oh
challenge in
my
your butt.
God.
Yeah.
For 2025. We took a little hiatus for a year.
Okay.
It's been a whole year.
It has. We didn't do it in 2024.
Damn it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jesus.
so we did in 2023. It is back for
Yeah.
2025. It with a little improvement.
Okay.
Oh, go
So
on.
here's the thing. I did this the first time, and the idea is you should be able to have no experience whatsoever with exercise.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in any kind of physical condition. It is all body weight movement.
Oh.
And it can all be modified to fit with wherever you're at.
I like that. You don't
Okay.
need gear.
No equipment needed.
that's nice.
You can do it
That
in the
is.
comfort of your own home.
Yes.
So that's the way the old one was. We're still going to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Except now what I've done is we've got a mix of kind of fitness, like high intensity interval workouts.
Okay.
Like more kind of aerobic workouts.
Yeah.
And then we also have some resistance based workouts.
Okay.
But the resistance based workouts, you're going to have an option. So if you sign up for this, there's actually going to be 2 workouts in there. There's going to be a body weight version,
Yeah.
and then there's going to be a resistance band version.
Oh, okay. So you want to add a little bit to it.
So
Ah,
I put
like that.
I put a link in the description I put out an episode this week, just a little reminder or announcement thing. I put the link in there to the resistance bands that I have, but you can pretty much go to Amazon or wherever you go and get whatever resistance bands you need. But you'll have the option if you want to do
like
the body weight version or the resistance band. Either one of them will work.
If somebody wants to sign up, where do they go?
You're going to go to
HTTP
www.creedthoughts.com/.
Creed Thoughts.
Go to mentalfitpersonaltraining.com/podtherapy. You have to have the /podtherapy because
That way we can put you on the watch list.
because this I didn't open up to everybody. This is specifically for listeners of the show.
Just for you, baby.
So it's not, if you go to my website, you're not going to see a link to it.
Right.
So go to
buried in the internet.
Yes. mentalfitpersonaltraining.com/podtherapy will take you to the form to sign
Or
up.
open up this episode's description wherever
And-
you're listening, and we will put the link right there.
Hopefully. You
I'm
post
pretty
the
good
episode.
about stuff.
I know you are, but
Yeah.
sometimes you'll forget.
Fair. Yeah. Fair.
He said,
The odds
It's
is not
not-
100%. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
a
it's not-
guarantee. It is
There's a-
likely.
There's a good chance
Yeah.
that the link will be in the description.
But this is also why we release the show a day early to the patrons,
Yeah,
because
so-
they'll catch this
yeah,
kind of
and
shit,
then we fix
and
it.
then they'll check it. Thursday morning they'll pop up the regular feed and go, "Hey Jim,
it's our quality improvement
that's
plan.
honestly this happens a lot." Or they just DM me on Discord like, "Hey, wake up, dude, fix this."
Yeah, so it's $40. It's an 8-week long program.
Oh, cool.
3 workouts per week,
There you go.
which
Get the year started.
which makes that
Don't try to do math.
$1.67 per
don't
workout.
do that. Don't do math.
$1.67 per workout,
For as little as $1.67.
which tells you,
you could save a
boy,
buck.
I hate making money. I absolutely hate it. Because if I'd have known that, I'd have probably charged a little bit more.
You just now did math.
He's like,
It doesn't show
damn it.
that you don't want to
so
make
it's like-
money. It shows that you don't know how.
I'm completely incapable of doing math.
You know what? Actually, I think I'm canceling this whole project. Restart the show
So sign up now before I change my mind.
before I realize how to increase the price.
No, so 8 weeks. 8 weeks of workouts for $40.
That's
and you
awesome.
get two months access to the Mental Fit app.
Oh,
So,
very cool. Very cool. Yeah, when we last did this, it went really, really well. And I
did.
think having community do it with you,
Yeah.
that makes a huge
Game
difference.
that
changer.
helps me a lot.
Game changer. You know, whenever you know everybody's working on this together
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's super kind, super supportive, nobody's judgy, and it's just like, no, we're just everybody feel better. That's all we're trying to do. Just
Mm-hmm.
feel better, be healthy. I love it. So mental fit
Personal training.
personaltraining.com/.
pod therapy.
Do you have
Dash
like a
treat
area
dogs.
in Discord that you check in and stuff? Sorry.
We have a channel.
We sure do.
Oh. We have a channel.
So not only my app actually has a chat feature.
Oh.
Yes.
So you can actually chat and like message other people
Oh, that's cool.
that are signed up to do this.
Very cool.
You also have the
sign
ability
up.
to mute the chat if you would like.
Yes. Nice
Also
to have
an
it.
important
in case you need it.
Because
feature.
we got people all over the world doing this, and so
All times a day.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
you may get a
Buzz,
notification.
buzz.
But yeah, on the Discord there is a Pod Therapy
Let me go
Fitness.
look.
I think it's Fitness Buddies or something. something like
TheraFit Buddies.
There it is.
Yep.
Boom.
Or a fit.
So check it out, general audience. Come get healthy with a good community. This podcast is part of your week. Why not make it improve your physical health as well and get more involved? So check it out. Again, open up the episode description in your podcast app and we'll make sure we have a link to it. And if I've forgotten, make sure to DM me on Discord and tell me to do that, somebody. I'm sure I can get it done pretty quickly. So, and then I'll just refresh it and it'll be fine. It'll be like it was always there. And as long as we can do it before Nick notices,
worst
I'm
case
fine.
scenario, just go back to the episode before this
Yeah, there you go.
because I just put an announcement out.
But that's in the Patreon.
No, I put
Oh, you did it on
I
the
put it on
Spreaker.
Spreaker
Oh, good.
too.
There you
So
go. Then they have
it's
it.
out there.
Then
Yeah.
I don't even need to do it. Okay, it's
Well,
already
I should
done.
still do it.
I can
I
probably
mean,
still
you're
do
gonna
it.
do it
All right,
anyway.
fine. I'll get it out there. Anyway, check that out. Come be a part of it. Let's all get healthier together. Which is not on my 40 by 40. Well, actually, it is on my 40 by 40 list. I'm trying to get healthier.
Yeah.
You
That's
wanna
on
do it?
there.
That was
You wanna do a
literally one
pull-up?
of your things.
Yes. I haven't made any progress on that one. But you know what?
Dude, here's the thing. I can show you a step-by-step process.
To do one pull-up.
It only
To do
costs you
one pull-up.
$1.27 or
Honestly,
whatever.
that's pretty cheap.
You
If
know
I
what?
give you $40, will you,
You
do
know
the
what?
pull up? And
I'll
just
do
if
it.
I'm on your back when you do it, I feel like that counts.
Yeah.
You can just lift me. It'll
Fine.
be great.
Either way.
That counts.
But there's a series of workouts that you can do.
I'm not sure if Jim could hang on to Nick while Nick did a pull-up.
That's actually pretty hard. if I had him
We'd
in a
have to-
chokehold,
there would
if I
have
could
to-
do a triangle around his throat, I'll bet you I could hold. But I don't know how that's going to work.
We
I
could
don't know.
probably rig up some kind of backpack system.
Yeah. Or Baby Bjorn. Just put me on the front. This will
Yes.
be fine.
I mean, I guess he could just sit on your coattails while you did it.
There's that. Yeah.
He's used to that.
Dun. Ride those coattails
No,
up the
but there's
golden
a
elevator.
series of workouts. It's like 7 different workouts or exercises that you
Okay.
can do that like you practice them. And then it's like once you can do 10 of these, then you move on to this thing.
Oh, really?
And once you can do 10 of these, then you move on to this thing.
You know, man,
And it slowly works you up to being able to do a pull-up.
We need to talk off air about
Okay.
that because that's the only fucking path I see
Yeah.
that I'm going to be able to squeeze out this one pull up.
Yep.
So there needs to be a path for this, and I love that there's a formula.
There you go.
See, we're all learning something. Anyway, check that out, and we'll get healthy with you. It's a brand new year, new you. Let's live better. And on that point, speaking about health, our very first question today is about hypochondria from our friend NC Girl. Hello, Jacob, Nick, Whitney, and Jim. Thanks for your podcast. What you do is appreciated and important. Heart emoji.
Thank you.
I am in my early 30s. I gave birth to my son, 28 years old. I never sought help during most of postpartum, but later, a counselor told me they thought I had postpartum anxiety from experiences I described to them. She did clarify she could not diagnose me, though. Truly, ever since I've had my son, I've struggled with a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. I've struggled to try medication that helps. I'm not on any at the moment, but I have Ativan if I need it. Alongside that, I've had an autoimmune disease since I was 21 that I haven't always understood or tried to treat until later in life. I guess being diagnosed so young, I just didn't get what it meant or what I should be doing. I also have never been in great shape. I've struggled with weight and self-esteem issues for most of my life. Now I get all kinds of aches and pains. Some I think are truly related to my autoimmune disease, some to my anxiety, some to my grinding. I think it's teeth grinding. A fun side effect of stress as a single mom. Hooray! But I constantly worry sometimes, what's seriously wrong with me, and worry that I'm going to die early in life. I Google things all the time and have had so many doctor's appointments and emergency department visits. Some check out that I'm fine, like my continuous left arm pain. Cardiologist said my heart is fine. And others, like my autoimmune disease, I regularly go and try to treat. I do see a counselor regularly through work. I mentioned our last session that I'm starting to wonder if I'm a hypochondriac. I also mentioned my brain fog, or as I've been labeled most of my life, that I am spacey. We talked about OCD a bit, and she wondered if they are connected. I have a family history of OCD. Anyways, my question is, how do you know if you're a hypochondriac? Could OCD present that way? Ever since my little sister got diagnosed with OCD, and she described her diagnosis, I've wondered just because I do have some compulsions. One distinct one I do every day, in fact. It helps with my intrusive thoughts about death. I'm kind of obsessed about death and sickness and disease all the time. Wow, I'm a fun writer, huh? Thanks for any help or advice. I hope you are all doing well. Happy wintry season. Sincerely, NC Girl. Pronouns are she and her. And there's a PS here. Wanted to clarify, my counselor isn't trying to diagnose me with OCD. She said she could give me a referral if we get to that point, and also mentioned maybe ADHD. But just wanted to clarify, she's not trying to diagnose me with anything. Thanks again. Take care, NC Girl.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Nick? I have thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first because your thoughts are probably educated and useful to the conversation. But the whole thing with hypochondria really is interesting to me. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting concept because it's like we all perceive things different. Like I have no idea how you perceive pain. I have no idea how you perceive anything. Mm-hmm. I know how I perceive it, and like, I mean, just in conversations with Laura, every once in a while, she's just kind of like, oh, something doesn't feel right. Or I just kind of feel something just feels off, mm-hmm. And to me, that means nothing. Like, I can't relate to that. And she's like, well, do you ever feel that way? I'm like, I don't know what it's like to feel any other way. Like, I don't know what it's like to have something that doesn't hurt.
Right.
Like I always, okay. Like it's just like, oh, okay.
You always don't feel right.
Yeah, like okay, well, my knee isn't gonna work today. Like it hurts today. Like this thing, and then I'll go to bed and like something else is gonna hurt tomorrow.
Okay,
and it's just there's always something going on that mm-hmm. like my baseline of what I expect is just completely different. So to hear somebody say that like, oh, I think this is going on, or like, I think I'm having a stroke, I think I'm having a heart attack or something like that. Like, I can't relate to that.
Right.
Yeah. Are you saying Laura's a hypochondriac? Just kidding.
It's my roundabout way of getting to that point.
It wasn't said out loud. But if you're saying that, I respect you as a professional.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's an interesting observation that you have, Whitney.
Yeah, could you put that in writing?
I will let her know when I get home tonight.
What Whitney thinks.
What our friend Whitney believes. But I didn't say it. I explained to Whitney that that's probably not the case. She insisted.
My cheeks hurt. Oh man.
You get that looked at.
I know. Is that normal? Is that right?
Well,
My cheeks hurt.
Some people are into it.
I know. It's funny, before you got to the last part about OCD, I was literally in my head thinking, this sounds like OCD.
Check.
And I'm not diagnosing you either, just to be clear. But no, what I started thinking about saying this out loud, I'm like, oh man, is most hypochondria a form of OCD? I started down that questioning train in my brain. So just throwing that out there. Anyone's thoughts are welcome. But OCD, I mentioned this not long ago on someone else's question that they had wrote in, and I took this training not long ago. It was last summer, I think. And it was on OCD, and I learned so much about it. And one of it was medical OCD.
Yes.
And that's just one category. We're used to hearing OCD and thinking, oh, you're counting things over and over again, or I have to check something multiple times.
Right. Wash your hands.
Wash my hands and count and do a certain ritual. That is also OCD. But there's so much more to it than that I just did not realize. I felt silly a little bit.
So you're saying medical OCD as in their OCD manifests itself specifically around physical health or physical ailments, things like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I had a client that I worked with that was literally like that. They were like, what if I have cancer? What if I have, and things that linger and you don't know or whatever, or there's a bump, or do I have breast cancer or whatever. So it's there's a lot of these thoughts going around. I worked with clients who just thought, I'm not going to live past 25.
Right.
We work through that. So it's not that uncommon. I want to let you know, you're definitely not alone there.
It's very common.
You can start to feel like, oh my God, I'm crazy, or these aren't normal thoughts, and whatever crazy or normal means, but it's more common than you think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that medical OCD, when we're you mentioned compulsions, and you said that you have some compulsions, a distinct one. I wanted to let you know, if you're Googling things every day,
right,
I would maybe, maybe, I don't know you, but I would maybe categorize that as a compulsion.
Well, and also routine ED visits, constantly going to emergency rooms.
Yeah.
And this is something we see with people that live with, either health OCD or just health anxiety. This is one of the most expensive forms of anxiety to have, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because then especially in America, because then you're getting these bills for $5,000 because you just ran to an ER and they did nothing more than just do a quick EKG on you until you're fine, or you're not.
It costs $2,000 just to park there.
Yeah, Jesus. Valet is so.
Are you doing the valet?
Yeah.
You gotta do self-park.
Yeah, that's on you.
So yeah, that's kind of where my mind went, that I would, with your therapist, maybe continue to explore that with her a little bit more. Some things that, again, I know I've mentioned on here not too terribly long ago, but ways to sort of combat or try to combat these uncomfortable situations is, since you are, let's say, Googling things every single day,
right?
We want to sit with that uncomfortable feeling for longer. So let's say every 30 minutes you're Googling something.
Right.
Like, oh, I want to Google it again, or oh, I want to check this other website, or oh, what's this new ailment, or yeah, now it's my knee, or now my heart feels weird, it was fluttering, let me Google that. I would challenge you to maybe try, if you're doing it every 30 minutes, try once an hour. Again, that's just some very general,
it's very
place
important
to start advice.
Well, because when we think about what OCD is happening, and then again, none of us are diagnosing with that. We're just in agreement with you that some of what you're describing, an OCD person would relate to and say oh yeah, I do that too.
Yeah.
It's like this mosquito bite in your brain. And every time you itch it, because it's driving you crazy, you're making it worse, right? And so every time you touch it and you itch it, you're increasing the next time it will feel itchy and the overall itchiness of the thing. And then this becomes this feedback loop in your brain where you're compulsively requiring yourself to keep checking. And then we worry ourselves sick. This time I'm sure it's a heart attack. This time I'm sure it's cancer. This time I'm sure I'm dying of this, that, or the other thing. I'm constantly afraid. I'll see some commercial for this, that, and oh my God, I never knew about this thing. It's probably this thing. And then now we're constantly going to emergency rooms. We're consulting doctors, going to cardiologists, or we're Googling, and we're constantly worrying about that. And all of these compulsive behaviors, this checking behavior, is giving us reassurance in the moment. And so
Yes.
we crave it the same way that scratching the itch is better than sex, like whenever you're dealing with the mosquito bite. But then...
Which it is.
Are you using the valet?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to self-park that.
No,
man.
as somebody who grew up in the Midwest with lots of mosquito bites,
It is.
it feels
It's a
pretty
special kind of pleasure.
yeah.
You know, and it's dirty. You know what you're doing is wrong. You know God's
don't
upset
look at
about
me.
it.
Don't look at
Don't look at me. In church, Nick? In church. I don't care about your God. This is right. Fuck you, Grandma. Anyway, so yeah, no, it becomes this compulsive thing. And ultimately, writer, this is where it starts to control our lives, right? And so this is where Whitney's advice is exactly the first step that we take. We have several different tools that we use to fight back on OCD of this particular brand. One of them is what Whitney's talking about, delayed reaction, right? So you get your trigger, you have your exposure thought, you have the obsession, which is exposure to the idea, and it's that splinter in your brain, and it's bothering you. What if it's this? What if it's that? Oh my God. And then the compulsion arrives. I need to check this. I need to seek reassurance. I need to Google the symptoms and cross-examine myself and convince myself it's not real, or talk to a professional and be reassured that it's not real, or whatever it is. But the very first step is trying to just slow that down.
Yeah.
Because we'll try to get you to stop it eventually, but that never is a great place to start, right? Because we come in and go, just don't do that thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you mean don't scratch it? And we're like, if you don't scratch it, it gets better.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to feel itchy as shit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really, really uncomfortable. So in the beginning, we go, hold on, before you scratch it, I want you to count to 60 in your head. And then, you're going to give it a scratch. And we're also going to control how much you scratch it, right? You can scratch for exactly 5 seconds. And then you're going to put your hand away and you cannot scratch again. Set your timer. You cannot scratch again for another 10 minutes.
I've been watching Squid Games, and it sounds like this could be on there.
Would Squid Games count, by the way? Because I was going to watch
No.
that.
No,
No.
it's too new.
No.
Too new.
Shit.
No.
But this sounds like one of those games. So
Okay.
go on.
You can't scratch the itch.
Scratching it.
So delayed reaction, DRP, is a huge part of it. I mean, the other one is ERP, exposure, and like exposure and reaction processing is really difficult with health stuff because I don't know how to do that, like in a real way. Can't expose you to your phobia. Your phobia is something that's terminal illness. Like besides reading books about people that have that, which is only going to exacerbate the fear.
Right.
I don't know how
Or
we
kind
do
of
that.
sitting with, I mean, the writer said they have this autoimmune disease, which, oh my gosh, anyone dealing with those, I just feel for you. That is the worst. And so they've kind of already experienced something that is a real struggle.
Right.
And so it's almost like, hey, what happened when you found out that you've had it since you found out when you were a child or really young that you had that and you've dealt with it? You know, it's kind of like, well, yeah, you might have something like we all
Some
could.
things are,
I could have cancer. It could
a
be
thing.
a thing.
Yes.
Like, and so if you do, what does that mean? Oh,
Right.
you go meet with the doctor, you take the steps, you do the things. So
Right.
it's kind of like, any of us could have devastating
and we
things
do
happen
the next
to us.
right thing. And I'm glad you brought up the autoimmune because I think we've seen a lot of people. I don't know if you've had this experience, Whitney, but like what I've seen is people that are experiencing like psychosomatic disorders or have autoimmune diseases like fibromyalgia or something like that. Their mental health is so woven in to their physical health. And so when they're stressed and their cortisol levels are high or they're having an anxious spiral, it immediately feeds back into an exacerbation of their physical symptoms, which of course flags back to their anxiety. And they're like, Jim, I'm not making this shit up. I am feeling these things. And having to kind of sit with them and say, I believe you. I'm not trying to fight you on that.
Yep.
And we know that the mind-body relationship is really complex, and I want to kind of put an ice pack on the one thing we can.
Well, it kind of goes back to what we talked about this last week when we talked about the time that you and I spent working at LVRC with Dr. Pohl, and dealing with chronic pain, and just the idea that like all pain is real.
All pain is real.
And that includes emotional pain that's wrapped up around the physical pain.
Yes.
So we have to treat that as like a real thing and not dismiss it as though it's like, oh, well, this pain is real, this physical pain, but the rest of this is just in your head.
Right.
And from the brain's perspective, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all real.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to deal with that piece too.
Yeah. I was thinking my neighbor I'm pretty close with has Hashimoto's disease.
Oh,
and she
I have that. and I still don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I
No
need
one
to
does.
look this
No
up.
one knows.
Get it checked out.
I
man.
should really.
Yeah, and stop eating shellfish and peanuts. This is an intervention, folks. There is no NC, girl. We this whole letter was staged to get to this point.
Okay.
We wanted to talk to you about your Hashimoto.
Here we are.
No, but I know, I'm like, did I say it right, Jim? Did I mention Hashimoto's the right way?
I like that you look to me as the authority on word pronunciation, as you should.
No, I mean for our intervention for Nick.
Oh, yeah. No,
it's
you're
our
doing
plan,
great.
remember? Thank you.
Jim can't even follow his own bit.
No,
Sorry.
I was like, I thought I was playing into it, and Jim's like, what?
I got
knew what you were
distracted.
doing.
Thank you. I got distracted. So my neighbor who has been diagnosed with this, she's a little bit older than me. And so she's also going through the different like hormonal changes. And we were talking the other day because she seemed really down. There's just like a vibe. And I kind of checked in with her and she was like, yeah, she literally responded to me. She goes, I don't know. It could like, I do feel kind of like I'm in a lull.
Right.
And mental health, Whitney's over here, like definitely not diagnosing her. But I kind of mentioned, I was like, have you thought about, any extra help or, like some help
Nudging.
with depression? And her response was kind of like, well, I don't know, because part of me is like, if I just eat the right diet, like this very strict diet that goes along with autoimmune disorders, if I eat that diet, I feel so much better. But it's like a damn near impossible diet. It's like no
Right.
tomatoes because they're inflammatory and like it's not even just vegetables and fruit. It's like nothing except specific. Anyway, foods. She's like, if I really follow that, though, by the way, she has like teenagers that live in her house. I'm like, good luck with that.
Yeah, you don't get to eat anything good.
No. And so she's like, it could be that, or it could be my stress levels, as a single parent, or it could be that. She's like, it could be anything. She's like, I don't know. Or it could just be hormonal changes that happen naturally. She's like, any of these things could be contributing to it. And it's just, what you were talking
It's
about,
a game
that
of
connection.
whack-a-mole.
And you're like, I don't know where to start.
It is really, really difficult to treat. And, this is one of the things, I get a lot of anxiety cases. Like that's an area of my practice that I think has done really well. And I think it's interesting, you go back to my Yelp reviews, you'll see a lot of people that are very happy to tell their story of dealing with anxiety and therapy working. And I think coming from like lived anxiety experiences, like having my own demons, has given me a lot of tools to like really help people. And health anxiety is one of the ones that comes up a lot and is really, really difficult to treat, because like other forms of anxiety or intrusive thoughts, you can do this thing where you can kind of like rationally argue against it and kind of like put things to the test and kind of get to a place where it's like, hey, I'm willing to accept the risk. Like, what if my wife leaves me? It's like, okay, let's talk through that. And you can get them to this place where they can simulate that and say it will be okay.
Yeah.
But with health anxiety, it's like, well, what if I have a terminal disease that sneaks up on me in the middle of the night? And it's like, yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is
I'm not sleeping now.
this is very interesting because I had this same thought when Whitney was talking about 5 minutes ago, which is just the correlation of this with, and this is probably a bad analogy to use, but with like conspiracy theorists.
Okay.
With the idea that like with
Oh, thank
conspiracy
God. I thought you were going to bring up
theorists-
blackface again.
Yeah. Patreon.com/therapy. You can figure out which one of the hosts has used blackface.
I feel like I said all I needed to say about blackface in the Patreon part. No, but like with the conspiracy theorists, it's not that the whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's always one piece in there that's
Right.
like, oh, well, this piece we know is true.
Right.
It's all the shit that then is built around it.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of this, where it's like, well, the autoimmune piece we know is
Right.
true.
Yes.
And so now it becomes difficult because we can't say it's like, oh, you're making all of this up or
Right.
all of this is exaggerated.
yes.
And then it becomes difficult to be able to identify and distinguish, well, this part might be exaggerated, but
Yes.
this part seems to be
Well,
consistent.
and
with
it
the
tries to
symptoms.
validate every other clue, right?
Right, yeah.
Because like you try to explain to people like, hey, also the United States government can just be incompetent about things.
Right.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be a cover up.
Yeah.
It can just be that they're bad at government.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. You got to, don't be naive, Jim. You see it all in it. It's like they're all masterminds. They're all puppets. They're fucking playing the strings. And the same thing with health. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling something in my leg. That can only mean that I have a nerve disorder, something big, or something's, maybe there's a tumor on my spine. And it's like, no, it could also just be that your body is an old wooden house.
Yeah.
And it just makes
Yeah.
fucking noise and like creaks and things happen. And There doesn't have to be an explanation.
Yeah.
You are a bag of electricity and muscles and all sorts of weird shit that we barely understand that is all changing day to day by how many amino acids you had today and fucking water and what time it is and barometric pressure. Like, all those things can exist, and none of them have to be relevant to your personal health. And you do have an autoimmune disorder and you do go through things, but taking that stuff with that grain of salt and that ability to sort of moderate our reaction to it, Ryder, that's going to be everything. And I like that you and your counselor are already looking at this and saying, look, we don't need to diagnose this. We don't need to call it a name. But if we relate to people who scratch the mosquito bite and it gets worse, here are things that they do to make that better. And so, like, I love that you guys are already working on this. I mean, there's really great resources out there. One of my favorite resources is the OCD workbook. And I have that downloaded and I have it sliced into chapters.
Cool.
And that's homework that I always give people that are dealing with this. Because there's absolutely a chapter in there, going back to what you said, Whitney, just about this, like medical OCD. And there's also like contamination OCD, which is like fear of like, you know, I'm going to catch COVID or AIDS or something like that. It's going to hit me all out of nowhere. But
how hard did you work on going through the OCD workbook and really like marking it up and putting in different bookmarks and everything?
Obsessively.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I left no page unturned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was absolutely
felt like you really had to get that done.
Yeah, had to.
Yeah.
It was a mission from God.
Yeah.
Left the house, thought he missed a page, had to
Came
drive
back.
back.
Double check it. Yeah, circle it again. So, I mean, there's really great resources out there, Ryder. But, you know, interesting little side note here about that word hypochondria. So when we were being trained, we were on, I think all of us on DSM-4.
Yeah.
And DSM-4, including Jacob, Dr. Smith.
Thank you.
You know, and in DSM-4, hypochondriasis existed. And there was a diagnosis for that. In DSM-5,
I can say that too.
they got rid of it. And so we don't actually have that disorder anymore. Now it was subsumed into like psychosomatics and then also just generalized anxiety disorders with an illness subset.
Yeah. Right.
So like we still have it. We diagnose people, but we diagnose it as anxiety now, usually. And so this is a tricky one because it's in that nether space between, is it more like
Nether
OCD or is it more like generalized
I've had
anxiety
problems
disorder?
with my nether spaces before.
Obsessively. But yeah, so there is a diagnosis for this, Ryder. It might not even be OCD. It could be an anxiety disorder with an illness kind of factor or psychosomatic factors.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you have like fibromyalgia or something like that, it's really tricky because it is 100% a medical disorder. And if we're being fair, it's 100% a mental component as well.
Right.
And it easily touches everything in psychosomatic disorder because there is no difference between your mind and your body. There is only one thing. Yeah. And it's all touching. It's all connected. It's all radar. And whenever you're scanning to find out if you're okay, your body gives signals to different parts of your, muscles and stuff, and you get pain. And it's just one of the signals it has.
I worked with a woman years ago. This is purely an anecdotal story. Worked with a woman years ago. She said she had fibromyalgia and constant pain from that, and of course that affected her mental health as well. And then found out that she did not have fibromyalgia, but she had convinced herself that she did.
Oh wow!
And had many of the symptoms of this, and like.
Yeah.
Hardcore stuff.
Wow.
Probably like somebody could have written a paper about this woman.
I believe it though. I believe, fibromyalgia is kind of like IBS and other ones. It's a diagnosis of lack of evidence. So when we can't find anything else, but
here's
the symptoms persist,
yeah,
we use this as a catch-all name.
Right.
And it's almost like voodoo mystery box. Like we don't really know what it is. We know what it isn't.
That's what my doctor calls it.
Yeah, voodoo mystery.
Yeah.
Mystery.
Well, you do
Definitely
see that
voodoo.
Southern Bayou doctor,
Yeah.
so
He's actually an alligator.
with a top hat.
Yeah. Oh, you came down for your appointment, I can share. Oh, it is so good to see you. Have some gumbo.
Is Gumbo in the office?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rails gets lollipops.
That's right.
Not a Dr. Alligator.
If you don't share enough, I don't give you no gumbo. You still get some French bread, though. Everybody gets the French bread.
So that's the solution, Ryder, is go find you a qualified alligator doctor who will do the mystery voodoo techniques. But no, do look into the interventions for OCD. I like that you have the Ativan. I'd be curious what your doctors want to do. If they do want to explore more like SSRI options or SNRI options, or even things like gabapentin and like other things that might like calm down neurological signals.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
That's a good point.
we don't give medical advice. You know, it's certainly out of our scope, even if you were our patient. But if you were my patient, I would be referring you to a psychiatrist to get that extra like support and medical consultation, especially because sometimes if we can dampen down some of those anxiety signals, and then if we notice a correlation with pain signals and body psychosomatic signals, then we realize we're barking up the right tree. And that doesn't necessarily mean you will never, ever have an illness that needs to be treated or anything like that. But we want to address this. And I tell my patients this all the time. We want the anxiety to get better, not just so that you don't have to suffer with anxiety, but because I want you to be able to rightly and accurately discern and navigate your health down the road. And if your brain is crying wolf every single, month, then one day we might miss a real signal that we needed your attention on. So we need to right size this. We need to get that relationship under control. And I hope you'll throw every possible tool at it. Ultimately, that'd be helpful. But medicine is probably a good idea too.
Good question.
Really good.
Great question.
Yeah, we've had some really good mind-body ones lately.
I'll tell you what, I went ahead and Googled Hashimoto's for the first time after being diagnosed with it.
Like 3 years ago. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
I remember when you came in and you were like, so anyway.
Nick's the opposite of Googling all of his medical stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like,
got
go to the
around
doctor.
I got around to it. And that's
In good
fine.
time. In good time.
But I'll tell you what, this explains a lot.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Fatigue, weight gain. I knew it had to be some other problem, not the beer I'm drinking.
No, not that loaf of
Cheese
bread in a can.
fries.
Yeah, sensitivity to cold, definitely got that.
Yeah.
Muscle ache, stiffness.
There you go.
The knees, the problems
Yeah.
you have. Oh, yeah, you just said that.
all-
Everything
Yeah,
hurts
this
all the
is all-
time.
It's all making sense,
It's all
Tangeman.
making sense
Really
now.
proud of you, buddy. You're doing
Fair.
great. Good for you.
Change
Another
your
3
diet.
years, I'll seek treatment.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to rush anything here. I don't want you to get ahead of it. Don't get ahead of your skis. Go at
Thank
your
you,
own
Jay.
pace. Anyway, Ryder, good luck with that. Keep us in the loop. Let us know what resources work for you. We always love to share these answers online with the community. And thank you again. And so we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're talking about feelings. You're listening to Pod Therapy Inside My Head.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Don Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpee Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, Sam Cohn, and Jake Schneider. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. It's the moment Jim has been waiting for.
Let's do it.
Inside Out Trivia.
Fuck yes!
I haven't seen
You haven't seen
the
it?
second one.
You about to get dunked
Yeah.
on, girl.
Okay, I haven't seen any of
I've
them.
only
Get
watched the first
dunked
one once.
on.
I don't remember if I've seen the first one or just saw the previews for
I
it.
know.
That's the one with all the emotions in their
Yep.
head,
They're
right?
all inside
Yeah, yeah.
pushing
In the little
buttons.
girl's head.
For all I care.
Let's go.
All right.
Jacob, you're up first.
Oh, good.
Jacob's going to win. But I'll laugh.
What is the first memory orb we see in the original Inside Out film, and what emotion does it represent?
Oh, boy.
Oh, sure. That's the blue one.
Oh.
And I believe it represents go fuck yourself, Nick.
Ah.
I will give you points for that.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Can he have options?
2 points.
I guess if he wants options,
I got the
options-
2-point dunk, Jimmy.
Oh, Lord.
Hypothetically, the options would be Riley's first word, joy. Riley's first laugh, joy. Riley's learning to walk, fear. Or Riley's first hug, sadness.
Oh, those were the options?
Yes.
I don't know why you're looking at me, Jim.
Oh, because you've already answered it?
Yeah.
And I've already given points.
Yeah. Hypothetically, it's one of the joy ones.
Yeah.
You are correct again. More points.
Oh, my God.
4 points.
Wait a minute.
Riley's first laugh, joy. Good job.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Here we
Okay.
go.
I thought babies came out of the womb crying, though. This doesn't add up,
yeah,
this
you're
movie.
You're
Okay,
right.
go on.
I'm questioning this.
everything.
Okay. Yep. All right,
Also, they're
Whitney.
not cartoons.
Nah,
Yeah.
that's debatable.
Whitney, what is the
Damn it.
name of the cool new headquarters console installed during Riley's adolescence in Inside Out 2?
Well, I haven't seen
Take
it.
options,
So
yo.
options, yeah.
The puberty board,
Oh.
the Mega console, the Teen Edition console, or the Emote-O-Matic?
Got to be the puberty one, right?
I That's
Puberty
my
is a
first guess.
big word for this kind of movie, right?
Yeah.
Read the other three again besides puberty.
The Mega Console, the Teen Edition Console,
That's my number 2.
the Emote-O-Matic.
The
And Jim also nodded.
emote-o-matic.
Jim also nodded
Yeah.
at the teen one.
I was going to say I should have been
for
looking
the
at Jim.
tells.
Yeah.
I know.
Looking
I
for the
wasn't.
tells.
Sure, I'll go with C. Whatever the.
The Teen Edition Console, it is B, the Mega Console.
Mega
I would have guessed the
console.
emote-o-matic next,
Yeah.
so I'd have
All
been
good
off.
choices
Okay.
here. Yeah.
All right.
Emma's going for the deep cuts on this thing,
Yeah.
guys. Even no stone unturned. I don't know. I didn't know any of those. Those last two.
You didn't
So
know Joy?
I'm probably fucked.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew it
okay.
was Joy, but I don't think I would have picked which one. Like, because
Oh,
I
they
thought
were
it was her
too.
first memory was the mom or something like.
Oh, you
feeling
idiot.
warmth. So yeah.
All right.
All right, throw
You're
it
saying
out.
the easy
Ken.
one
the
for you.
idea of core memories shaping Riley's personal islands first come into the movie at what minute and second? Go.
I like a good weighted trivia.
Get handicapped on this thing.
Yeah. Wasn't Jim super cocky a few minutes ago?
Feeling real confident.
Real confident.
My balloon has descended quite a bit.
What psychological concept is reflected in the idea of core memories shaping Riley's personal islands?
Fuck.
For
Give me-
example,
okay.
Family Island,
Yeah.
Hockey Island.
Yeah, give me the options.
Cognitive behavioral therapy,
Huh.
attachment theory,
Uh,
identity formation, emotional contagion. Emotional contagion.
Contagion?
Contagion. There it is.
Aha.
I love listening to Nick.
How are
try and
you
pronounce
literate?
these.
I'm not literate. That's the
I'll
thing.
take
That's why I
C.
didn't. That's why I didn't Google Hashimoto's.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
honestly because I couldn't spell it.
I was sounding it out. I was getting all sorts of other shit. I got a lot of Hash House of Go-Go ads.
He doesn't know how to use voice to text.
I don't.
I'll take C, the identity one.
Correct.
Hooray!
That's good for half a point.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fair.
very good.
Actually.
In Inside Out, Joy initially struggles to accept the role of sadness. What real-life psychological principle does this reflect?
Ooh.
Emotional suppression, emotional regulation and balance, mood disorders, or cognitive dissonance?
A.
Hey!
Nick, this
I'm
one
going to
is
say
for you,
B.
right?
Yeah, I'm going to say emotional regulation and balance.
I think Jacob's right.
Jacob is not right. I am
Damn it.
right. It
Oh.
is emotional regulation and balance.
Isn't that what I said?
That's what I remember.
Yep.
Jacob gets another point.
All right. 3
Boom.
points for me, 2 points for Jacob. A
Okay.
point for Whitney. What the hell? And
Yeah.
Jim's at half a point.
All right. Well, it's a neck and neck game. So,
Jim's honestly doing better than I thought he would be
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
well, speaking of feelings, the next question is from Garrett.
Feelings.
Hey, everyone. I struggle with making two ideas I've heard a lot around mental health coexist. Number one, feelings aren't facts. This is usually used when speaking of one's own feelings. Number two, others' feelings are valid and should not be dismissed. If my feelings aren't facts, then why do I treat others' feelings as facts?
Up, you got him.
I'm not trying to argue one or the other is wrong. I'm more just
Mic
curious
drop.
of y'all's perspectives with how these two ideas interact. Fucking you in the face, Garrett.
Therapy
Okay.
your way out of that one.
Oh shit! Riddle me this, Batman.
And I love this question.
It's a good one.
Nick.
You are completely right. We will see ourselves out.
Yeah. Pod
This is
therapy
the
ended
last
right
episode.
here. This was it. The season
Thank you for
series
joining
finale.
us, everyone.
Now we can become a classic. Finally. The Breaking Bad.
No, this
I
is a
know.
Therapy
great.
podcast.
This is a great question
Oh
because this
my
is something that is because I've actually had this exact same thought,
Yeah.
Same.
and I think it's. I don't want to go first on this one.
I'll shoot my shot
Yep,
and then
go for it.
let Nick go after. Well,
I
what
just-
about Dr. Jacob? Just kidding.
I got it.
He's on
He
team
said
writer.
we're done.
He just agrees.
So the way I kind of see this is feelings aren't facts is true. So because we feel a certain way doesn't mean it's true. I see that as, let's say you and I are in an argument. I'm like, Nick, you hurt my feelings. it really upset me when you didn't text me back the other night or something like that. And your goal in not texting back was not to hurt me. So my feelings are not facts. My feelings are valid though, because I was hurt, but the fact is you were not trying to hurt me. That's my best shot.
I like that. No, to me, writer, this isn't that complex. And I think this is something we bump into a lot. Because when I do couples therapy, this comes up. Because I'll say, like, I'll use that famous phrase when trying to help a person deal with some anxiety. But then the partner will go, oh, yeah, get him, Jim. And like they start going like, yeah, feelings aren't facts. I told you that, you're wrong. And I'm like, whoa, let's dial that shit down. Like they're trying to weaponize that to like push away from their partner or whatever. The reality is this, like feelings, like take my anxiety, for example. Like I've gone on the show, well known for this, like that I have an anxiety problem. So my experience of anxiety is real. And if you are my friend and you care about me, it would be silly of you to be dismissive of that. You would not make me feel any better by simply telling me that I am just wrong all the time.
You're just overreacting.
Yeah.
Too sensitive.
That being said, you are.
I was like, I feel like I know it's going to come from that side of the room.
I was going to support that because if it were true, Jacob and I would have discovered this years ago.
Yeah.
Right. That actually
solved it. Yeah. Just tell Jim he's wrong, and it's great.
Jacob and I can verify that doesn't work.
It hadn't worked.
Lots of efforts were made.
Maybe we haven't done it enough.
Just if you shouted louder, perhaps.
I'm not giving up yet, though.
Yeah, or
Don't
through
worry,
more
Jimmy.
things.
We're gonna lick this thing.
Thanks, buddy. That persistence. That's real friendship. That's how I know.
Yeah.
No, but like the experience of my fear, the experience of my emotion, my feeling, that is a reality. And in that sense, it is factually occurring right now. And if you would like to address me or interact with me, it is a reality that you're going to have to show some amount of respect for and deference toward. That doesn't mean you have to agree with it. I, as a therapist, certainly confront people's false feelings all the time. I am constantly helping them crawl out of the prison of anxiety. But I don't do that by just telling them this isn't real. Stop feeling that. Your feelings aren't valid.
Right.
I start with, I see your feeling and I understand your feeling. I would feel that way too if I thought that freckle on my knee was terminal melanoma and I had months to live. If I believed as you believe that thing represents what you've concluded it does, I too would feel that way. I would feel unloved if I thought as you think that I didn't care enough to text you back the other day. If I thought that, I would feel that.
If I was an idiot like
you. If I was an idiot like you're a dumbass. So I'm recognizing that your feeling has come to you organically, that you're not being deceptive or dishonest, that you're not a dumb person. I understand where it is coming from. Now, as a therapist, I am also going to help you right size your reaction to the thing that you're fearing, and I will add context to that. And this is where that famous phrase, feelings aren't facts, is where we're trying to help the person loosen their grip on the conclusion so their reactions can adjust. And like Jim, who has an anxiety disorder, it would not be very helpful to me if you were dismissive of me. I need you to come to me and say, Jim, I understand why you're scared of this. I understand why you feel this way. It sounds like this is what you're going through. And when I understand that you get me, that you see me accurately, now I feel safe listening to you. But when you're dismissive of me and you say, you're always in your head about this shit, Jim, it's dumb, it's not real, when are you going to grow up? Okay, fuck you. You're an unsafe person. And now I'm just going to sit here in sadness and torment, and you've done nothing for me, right? And that's going to divide our relationship. But whenever you join with me, you're not validating that I am right, that I should be scared, but you're understanding where I am coming from, and you're giving me some amount of deference to say, I get why you've organically landed on that conclusion. I would also like to offer some perspective. I think that maybe you're being a little too fearful of this. Have you considered these things? Earlier, we were talking about health fears, and Whitney was bringing up something that we would say to somebody if they said, I'm scared I have cancer. What if I have cancer and I die? And then you might say to them, did you know that X number of people survive cancer? Did you know that? Did you know that cancer caught in certain stages has X percentage of success being treated. Did you know that if you were diagnosed with cancer, that is not a bullet to the head? It's not a death sentence instantly. A lot of people get diagnosed with cancer. It turns out there's an entire portion of healthcare called oncology that just treats this. And they're good at their jobs. And it's very possible to treat cancer. A lot of people survive cancer. Have you considered that as part of your fear? And what we're doing is we're loosening your grip on this thing. Because before, your feeling was convincing you of a fact that you are going to die immediately. We're helping disabuse you of that link, right? To loosen that conclusion. If I believed I had terminal cancer like you, I too would be reacting the way you are reacting. But can we look at that question of terminal cancer first? And if we can loosen our grip on that conclusion, leave room for doubt, learn these cognitive behavioral techniques, taking the thought to court, looking for zebras and horses, understanding the difference, how we would self-soothe. If we can do that, the feeling will respond accurately as we get a better understanding of the facts. That's the difference between these two things.
Unfortunately, by the time Jim finishes explaining all that to you, you will have died from the cancer.
Probably. Yeah. It does take, it gets you,
It does.
Strikes.
Sneaks up.
It's like a seagull at the beach.
Oh, turned out I did have cancer the whole time.
Yeah,
Boy, is there egg on my face.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's valid to be scared of cancer because some
Right.
people die, but we're going to challenge it and it's not fully factual, is basically.
Well,
kinda what
and
you're
this
saying.
goes back to like cognitive behavioral therapy treatments for anxiety. One of the tricks we try to teach people is to remember that you are not completely powerless. Because when my anxiety is going off, my anxiety turns into a black and white thinking. And Nick, who's had to watch me go through this shit, has seen
Is
me
it
go
through
from
pod therapy that
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
texted with him about that?
He's seen me go through it. So's Jacob. I've had a couple meltdowns. And like when that's happened, they've both witnessed that I will tell them, here's what I'm afraid of happening. And they'll kind of stare at me like, so you're telling us you're scared of this scary thing. And your brain immediately jumps 10 years into the future of that possibility, finds the only possible outcome that would be the worst of all outcomes. And not only do you think that's going to happen, you're convinced it is, there's nothing you can do about it. That between this moment and that peril moment, there's not an infinity of options that you could exercise along the way to help make this better. Like the cancer example. Even if you did have cancer, it doesn't mean it's a bullet to the head. You could go get treatment. There's something called chemo. There's radiation. There's surgery. There's all kinds of, there's things you're overlooking that are part of this, right? And this is, again, disabusing somebody of the conclusion they have reached. And that's what we mean by feelings aren't facts. We're not trying to like diminish or disrespect them or tell them they're wrong. We're trying to help loosen the emotional grip on the conclusion they have reached. Your feeling is telling you you are doomed, but the fact is probably not that.
So I feel like we're all pretty much going to be saying the same thing, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
Because I think Garrett's point here, I totally agree with. And I've been in this exact situation where, like, for things that happen to me and I feel a certain way, I've actually had that thought to myself, okay, feelings aren't facts.
Right.
Okay, I feel this way, but that's not the way it's necessarily going to be. And that's my way of resolving the situation to bring it back down to a manageable piece that I can deal with and I can cope with. But then working with other people in my life,
Right.
and like they're expressing their feelings and like, okay, but I have to respect that feeling because that feeling isn't a fact. If my feelings aren't facts, those feelings aren't facts either.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what it's really about is what are we trying to accomplish?
Yes.
You know, what is our goal here?
Yes.
When it comes to me, I already understand, like I can validate my own feelings. I'm not in a situation where I need my feelings to be validated.
No, you're not.
Thank you. No,
He would
that was
never.
a little, I don't know
He
why
gets
we
it.
needed that.
Would never validate you.
All right, but fine.
you,
All right.
you can
Sorry,
validate your own feelings, Nick.
The anti-validator.
But like I'm at the point right where I need to be able to focus. I need to kind of clear the fog. All right. So that's why feelings aren't facts. Helps me do that, helps me focus in on what I need to do.
Right.
When I'm working with someone else and they're expressing their emotions, that's still true. Feelings aren't facts, but it's not necessarily helpful in the moment.
Good point.
What's helpful in the
Jacob.
moment is being able to...
I validated him, Whitney.
Yeah.
He was agreeing
It's kind of
with
the
it.
way that you validate it.
Yeah. Malicious compliance. Yeah. Jacob's with you, but you kind of wish he wasn't. Almost wish he would just disagree with me.
So like with other people, like I can, their feelings, I could go down that road and be like, feelings aren't facts.
Right.
Okay, and then what's going to happen?
Right.
Okay, then I'm going to have more issues that I'm going to have to deal with. As opposed to being able, what that person needs is that person needs validation.
Right.
They need to be heard, and they need to, they need the other person to be able to empathize
Yes.
with that situation.
Yes.
It goes back to one of the things that I've talked about on the show before when we talk about apologizing and how to apologize with meaning.
Yes.
Right? It's not just saying I'm sorry, but it's saying I'm sorry. It's being specific for what happened and also validating the other person's position.
Right.
If I was in your situation looking at what I did, I can see how you felt that way and you have a right to feel that way.
Yep.
That's validation. And that's what that person needs. It's
Right.
not necessarily that they need to hear, well, your feelings are wrong and you need to right size these and feelings aren't facts.
Yeah.
That's not going to help you. What's going to help you is validating that person's experience.
And that doesn't
I'm
mean
so sorry that you feel that way.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that
Still
Perfect
doing a
word.
great job.
offended.
Still doing a great job.
But this goes back to like the other half of that too, because I think some people say, so great, I'm just supposed to validate people even though they're wrong. And I don't think that's what you're saying at all.
No,
And
no,
that's
no,
not
no,
what
no.
the apology
No.
like lesson was on.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
starting with that, and then you might offer, but the truth is, I was late to our date.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't care about you or don't value your time, but because Las Vegas is under perpetual construction and I misjudged it. So what I failed to do was rightly assume traffic.
See,
Yeah.
you think I'm malicious and I don't love you.
Yeah.
In reality, I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't prepare
Yeah.
for traffic.
What is the old saying? Never attribute to malice what can be attributed to
Stupidity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupidity. Yeah, trust me. It's that I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I like you a lot.
My not loving you has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I don't love you, but for different things. Trust me, I wanted dinner tonight. I wanted it.
Yeah,
on
so
time.
I get it, Garrett, because it does seem like we kind of speak out of two sides of our mouth when we say these
very
things.
true.
But I think both are valid, and it's just from the perspective that they're viewed.
Yeah, and it's also when the tool has use. I think your point about utility is everything, right? Because as a therapist, we always start from trying to understand the inner world, right? And even though we might say, I don't think they're correct, I think that their conclusions about the situation are way off. We know we can't just say that at them, and that's a rookie mistake of therapists.
Yeah. I was going to say, like this is one thing that
I'll fix you in 30 seconds.
yeah,
Great.
that I think the three of us, well, four of us,
Yeah. In our professional experience.
in our professional experience, has figured out very carefully. Like you kind of know, like you hear sometimes your client will say something, and like the rookie mistake is to jump in and be like, well, actually.
Yeah. You're
When
just
in-
wrong. How
yeah,
about that?
No,
Yeah.
that serves no purpose. I mean, the important thing is that this person sees this as reality.
Right.
That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
We operate from that understanding, and from that understanding, all of their behaviors make perfect sense given what their understanding is.
Nobody cares how much you know until they know that you care. And this is something a lot of couples go wrong with too, is, let's say you got a couple, you got John and Jessica's crying, and John says, oh my God, is everything okay? And she's like, I'm just so upset because you don't love me. And he's like, oh, no, I do. Ta-da! There you go. You should feel better
good.
now.
Yeah.
Because you were clearly crying under this sad misconception. You had believed a lie or believed something not to be true.
No, I said, I do
I can
love
just fix
you.
that. Yeah, I do. Therefore, you should stop. Why are you still crying? I don't understand. And she's like, you're being dismissive and you're gaslighting me and you're a narcissist. You don't understand me. And he's like, I'm none of those
What do
things.
those things have to do
I'm
with it?
fixing an error. Like, yeah, if you're doing a budget and you're like, oh my God, we're broke. And I'm like, no, you missed line 3. You did the math wrong. See, we're not broke. You should no longer be scared like we were broke. You should be reassured that, in fact, we're not broke. I did you a favor by correcting your math.
You're welcome.
And both people are completely right.
That's what I do when I correct my wife. I
Yeah.
then follow it up with "You're welcome."
Yeah, you want to say that quickly.
Yeah.
And he's still married.
Yeah. This woman has put up with so
She
much.
does not listen. She does not listen to anything I say.
She has zoned out a long time ago. You're still here. That's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ryder, this is fair. And I'm really glad you asked this question because it definitely shows up in therapy. It shows up in couples work. It shows up in our work, right? on this show, because you hear us validate letters. We always start from trying to understand the human writing the letter, and then you also will hear us challenge some of their conclusions. But we have to earn the right to do that. Otherwise people will say, if you just write in a letter and we just keep saying you're wrong. It reminds me of that old Bob Newhart sketch, right? Like, stop it. The person's like, I'm scared I'm going to die buried in a box. It's like, okay, stop it. You're not going to die buried in a box. Anyway, have a great day. And it's like he charges $1 a minute or whatever. And it's like, there's a reason that doesn't work. I was telling my students this the other day. There's a reason people can't just go to the bookstore and buy a book on cognitive behavioral therapy and just get all better, right? Some people, great, that does work. A lot of people need the therapy. And you think, well, what are we doing that's different than the book? Well, we're not just sitting down and giving people information, right? YouTube could do that. That doesn't solve it. They need the human interaction to do the emotional yoga, look into the conscious mirror, and through measuring that, change it. And like, that's all possible because of the work we do. And that's, I think there's a lot of, trades that's part of it. You need that work with another human or else you can't gain the same thing. So
yeah,
that's part of what we do. But great question.
That's a good one.
Very good.
I like it.
Your question is factual and your feelings are valid, Garrett. Both can be true. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about a best friend in therapy. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dunn, Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boyd, Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop, Slurpee Kaye Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, Sam Cohn, and Jake Schneider. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Okay. Where are we at? Jacob, you're up again.
Good.
Yeah.
You're up again.
Inside Out. Final answer.
Correct. All right. Whitney.
Yes.
5
Inside
points.
Out too.
Emma, I'm sorry they're not taking your game seriously.
I'm taking it as seriously as I'm able to.
That is.
I'm giving 100%
That
effort.
yes. That is all that he's got in the tank. He's left nothing on the table.
And I will not listen to you insinuate otherwise. I'll take these headphones off.
Whitney. What happens when Riley's core memories are lost in the movie?
You should get
Options. Yeah. I was like, a lot.
Riley experiences emotional numbness. Riley becomes overrun by fear. Riley forgets her family. Riley's emotions become stuck in a loop.
Her core memories disappear.
Are lost.
Are lost. Yeah. Stuck in a loop?
No.
Oh.
Numbness.
Idiot.
Damn it. It's like they don't have anywhere to go.
It's like you've never even seen the movie.
Riley experiences emotional numbness.
Oh, that
See,
checks
Jacob, aren't you glad you didn't get that question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Good job.
Jacob.
But what movie is it from? Inside Out.
I feel like you should just give me all the
Boom.
questions.
Okay.
See how
And I
many
just have
Jim
to
can
take
get.
blank shots at them.
Jacob, here you go.
All right.
I'll give you a point if you can get it on the fly.
Yeah, that's how the
Oh,
game
this-
works.
No,
No,
like
you.
for Jacob.
Jacob's question.
Oh, okay, cool.
get it.
All right.
Okay. Jacob,
Yeah.
what does Bing Bong's sacrifice represent on a psychological level?
What?
Gesundheit. That is the first experience of true loss and letting something go.
Wow, it's probably.
I
not
got
wrong.
stuck on
You know
Bing
what?
Bong.
That's
Okay,
yeah.
100 points. The correct answer is the acceptance of loss as part of growing up.
Wow, there it is.
Fine.
500.
Winner. It's over. Jesus,
Just been life.
he beat a game he didn't know he
I told
cared
you
about.
Jacob was going to win.
She did. And I feel like that's an extra 50 points to Whitney for calling
I
it.
get something for that. The trivia I answered was the ultimate.
That's
Who's
true.
going to win this game?
Threw the ball down the lane, didn't look back. Strike.
Yeah.
Strikeola.
Jim, for 1 point. Why is Riley unable to create new core memories during her emotional crisis?
Anxiety.
Yeah, I'll have to. I mean, okay. Give me options.
Okay. Joy and sadness are absent from headquarters. Riley is unable to experience happiness. Her memory orbs are stuck in the long-term memory storage. The personality islands are disconnected.
The personality islands are disconnected.
Correct.
1 point.
1 point.
Well, you took options. So
Half a point.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Oh,
No, this is correct. This is just but fair.
I mean, this
Negative.
is one of these Disney. There are a lot of Disney movies out there that like people without kids can watch and
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah.
This one is one that is especially geared
It's obscure.
towards children
Yeah.
and parents of children.
It is a very sentimental movie. It's sweet.
I'm sure it's very good.
It's a
Disney,
good one.
Disney and Pixar
They
put
don't
out
make bad
Yeah,
stuff.
they put out good shit.
But it doesn't have
There's
mass
emotions.
appeal the way a lot of other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for it's studying the child's development.
Every time I am in the mood to watch a Pixar or Disney movie, I just go back and watch Coco again.
So good.
I haven't
Coco's
seen
so
Coco.
good.
It's been
Oh.
on my list for
Coco
ages.
Coco is so
Don't
good.
spoil it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen Encanto?
I've seen
No.
Encanto.
That's a solid one.
Yeah, that one's
all
good
the songs
too.
are by who's that guy?
Trent Reznor.
Manuel.
The guy who- Lin-Manuel Miranda.
And
it's
Soul. I think is Trent Reznor.
Fortunate.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soul is
Yeah.
very good.
Soul is okay.
Well, when I quoted it earlier, you guys said it was racist.
What?
Well,
Jazz? I said
No.
it was black improvisational
No.
music.
No, we just said you were racist.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah,
was
we didn't say
unrelated.
anything.
Yeah,
We didn't make a-
I appreciate
You
it.
could have been talking about
All right,
it.
good.
Yeah.
Well, as long as it didn't have anything to do with
Say anything about
my
Patreon.com,
understanding
you
of
be the
Nobody,
judge.
nobody here has anything against Soul.
Yeah, okay, good. Because I won't stand for that.
Just want to make that
yeah,
clear.
yeah, no, thank you. Thank you.
Zero
It's you.
beef with
Yeah,
Soul.
okay, good. I will gladly bear that. This is fine. Yeah, Encanto's fantastic. by the way.
Encanto's
Check out
really
Encanto.
good.
If you liked Coco, Encanto's so good.
What is the purpose of personality islands in Riley's mind? This is my question, but if you're going to take a shot at it. They control her actions and decisions. They represent her core values and identity. They store her emotional memories. They regulate her emotional responses. I'm going to go with B. They represent her core
That would be my guess.
values.
And identity.
And it is correct.
Ding, ding,
There you go.
Bing,
It's
bong,
amazing.
bing, bong.
It's really amazing.
Who's
that
your friend that likes to play?
I've so far gotten all of these right, and I'm the one reading the
Easy.
questions.
Doing
It's
so well.
so-
You're the one looking at the answers.
We're all
so
just
it
fighting for
makes
second
sense.
place. It's clear the man who
Yes.
shot.
I might have second place wrapped up too.
He is both sides of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right, on to the last one. Best friend in therapy. Oh, this is the one that we got the revision on.
Yeah.
And let me open up that version of the letter.
This is
Whitney
the part of the
Stahl.
show that
Da,
we
da, da,
prepared
da,
for.
There we go. I'm
That
back.
was a
Thank you.
My friend's therapy is
Nailed it.
seriously starting to worry me. Hi, everyone. I need some guidance and would be grateful for any help you can offer. I've tried to keep this concise, but so much of it feels important. If necessary, feel free to do your editing thing. I have an ex whom I still care for deeply. We were together for roughly a decade, starting in our late teens and early 20s. Eventually, like many young couples, we had to part ways. We ended things on painful but amicable terms, and though we now live far apart, we still talk once or twice a month. A couple of years ago, my ex began seeing a therapist, and I was thrilled. He's incredibly kind and trusting, so I wasn't surprised that he immediately clicked with his new therapist. He'd come out of sessions beaming about how they'd connected over shared interests and senses of humor. She was young, cool, knowledgeable, and seemed like a perfect fit. He told me that he'd give his therapist emotional pieces of him, and in return, she would give him pieces of her. I've been a long-time listener to your podcast since about episode 8. Holy shit. Oh, here we go.
Set the mood.
Well, I'm glad you're a long-time listener because
You'll understand.
there's nothing here we can surprise you with. And from what I've learned, this relationship seemed off. X told me they
Or on.
X told me that they'd often spend half of their sessions talking about her problems. I pointed out that
Oh my
he was
God.
paying her to help him with his issues, but he insisted he didn't mind. He's always been a helper, and I think he felt closer to her by hearing about and helping her with her struggles. Eventually, I think he began seeing therapists as more of a friend. Over time, she began canceling sessions frequently, sometimes with a reason, sometimes without. And X was so confused and hurt, wondering if he'd done something wrong. Meanwhile, he was in a difficult living situation and desperately needed to move out. The household where X stayed was toxic, and he was having trouble with his sobriety. Eventually, his therapist suggested he move in with her cousin, I'll call this person roommate.
Oh my God.
Citing two reasons.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, reread that shit.
Oh, yeah. Say that sentence again.
Therapist recommended my ex move in with therapist's cousin, and I will now refer to this person as roommate. Therapist cited two reasons. One,
I wouldn't do that with an acquaintance.
therapist cited two reasons. One, roommate needed a housemate, else he was getting kicked out. And two, both roommate and ex were in the early stages of recovery.
Good.
She thought they could keep
Good.
each other sober.
This
All
is
right.
not real.
Oh,
I mean,
Christ.
it's real, but geez.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
I don't see a problem.
0% chance this
Get
goes
out.
well.
Get out.
Now I've listened
Seems fine.
I've listened to your show enough to suspect this was a huge mistake.
Oh, you've done some good in the world.
Hey, I'm glad Pod Therapy's helpful. And indeed, living with another person in early recovery has not gone well for X.
Weird.
Shocker.
Fucking really. Roommate relapsed and has bouts of staying up for days, and X hasn't made the progress he hoped for either. On top of that, they're politically incompatible. I mean, vehemently and diametrically opposed sorts of incompatible. This is something his therapist would have known before putting them together. Therapist, in my opinion, removed X from one terrible situation and placed him right into another. In addition, X has caught his therapist lying, and she's encouraged him to do unethical and at times illegal things. She admitted to being manipulative, and roommate has too. Most recently, X brought up to therapist that he was in the process of applying for a job that he really, really wanted. To that news, she literally picked up the phone mid-session to call the employer, name-dropping X's friend who worked at an establishment as a reference, and also mentioning that X is gay. But not one of those gays that you can tell is gay, the therapist said to the employer.
To the potential employer.
The fuck is going on?
What? This
This
isn't
is
a
great.
Seinfeld or Curb Your
Jesus.
This is great.
We need to process.
I
Okay,
want
go
therapist's fucking number.
I know.
Needless to say, he didn't get the job. And his friend was bombarded with questions about the mysterious gay guy who got his therapist to call and vouch for him. Oh my God. There are so many more stories I
I want to know what illegal things the therapist tried to get him to do.
I do
I can only
too.
imagine.
But to wrap this up, from what I can see, therapist is not only unprofessional, but harmful to X's life. Yet he doesn't see it. I'm not sure what I can do to help either. Me and others close to him have considered reporting her to a board, but I'm afraid of it negatively backsplashing on him. To report a therapist, don't you need concrete, explicit examples of wrongdoing? I can't say anything too strongly about the therapist to X either, because I know he'll shut down. I try to remain open and be an ear when he needs some of that, but there has to be something more or a better way to move forward. It's been several years since he began seeing the therapist, and it's getting increasingly painful to keep watching and hearing of all the ways she keeps inserting herself into his life. I want to keep rooting for him from the sidelines and be there for him, but this is all getting to be ridiculous to stick around for. Sincerely, anonymous, pronouns are he and him.
This is silly.
I mean,
That is
I
a
haven't
silly
been
email.
here for all 7
So
years,
many-
but like, have y'all ever seen?
That's
letter like this?
that's up there.
Holy shit.
So many life code violations. Or
Life
life
code?
coaching. Life coaching violations. This
Like
is-
life
And life code
coaching?
violations
Yeah.
as well.
You
I don't
know-
know what that is, but they probably exist.
Life coaches obey the life code. I think a
Right,
lot of
yeah,
people
yeah.
don't know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Including Jacob.
Stick to it firmly.
No, this is wild. This is so. Here's the thing. Okay, so we get letters all the time about people writing in, voicing or expressing concern or frustration with their therapist, and the caveat that we always like to throw out is, we can throw in our 2 cents. We tend to start from the base understanding that the therapist is trained and knows what they're doing.
We usually start
Okay,
there.
because
That's where Nick's
we,
starting
we
this.
have to assume that, and then we have to understand we don't know what's going on.
Sure.
We're hearing about this
Right.
from a third
We
party.
default to the
who's
eyes on the
describing.
ground.
In
Yeah.
this particular situation, we're hearing it from someone who is 2 parties removed
Right.
from it.
Right.
And it's still batshit crazy.
This is irredeemable.
They didn't even share everything.
No, like, this is wild.
Like, I still want to hear more.
Yeah.
I know, we need a
You
book.
tease
the
stories that I
potential
want to hear more
employer
about.
and saying, "Hey, I want to vouch for this guy.
That's
He's
great.
gay, by the way, but
he's
not
not
one
that
of
gay."
those gays."
How is the
He's not leading a parade.
right?
Oh
How is your
my
ex
God.
okay with that? Like,
Oh
no,
my
we're friends.
God.
What? Oh.
But it's so sad, right? Because
is.
like clearly X is hurting. X has
Yeah.
bonded. And it is hard to get, right? And like especially if you're a person who like, okay, you're struggling with your own stuff in life, and that could be boundaries, right? It could be like letting bad people into your life or whatever. And like here you are and you've found a bad therapist, and now you're
Jeez.
letting that person mess with you and like tell you what to do and steer your life in all these terrible directions. And like I understand writer's perspective where it's I don't want to harm that. Like I don't
Yeah.
think it's my place to pull you away from the therapist.
This is why I'm a stickler on therapist training.
Yeah. No
But
shit.
also
And
clinical
treatment plans.
clinical super and treatment plans, but it's related, but it's not. But the importance of clinical supervision,
Oh,
because
yeah.
our jobs as clinical supervisors is not only to train, educate, and prepare the next generation of therapists.
Right.
We also serve a gatekeeping function. Because some people, not everybody is going to be an astronaut when they
Who
grow up.
License this bitch?
Some people are not meant to become therapists.
No.
And it's the job of the clinical supervisor to be able to identify that and make a decision.
Shut
and
that shit down.
Lord.
I don't know if you've ever had to do this before. I have. It is a very
Had to
uncomfortable.
veto
Really?
somebody?
Yes.
Oh, have you
Tell
really?
me more.
Oh, yeah, I've never had to do that.
What's
Where
the
I've-
tea?
He's
Jacob
been-
doesn't believe in it.
Jacob's been good tonight.
Yeah.
He's usually not good.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah.
he's been really
is
good
his
on this
night.
episode.
He's got 100 fucking points. I think once he dunked on trivia, he's like, all right, he's going for records now.
All bets are off.
I'm getting that 1,000 yards. He gets that incentive bonus.
No, I've had to do this before where I've had an intern and I spent a lot of time working with this person on and I'll give you an example. So we worked at a residential treatment facility.
Yeah.
Same one that you worked at. You were at a different location.
Oh, yeah.
But all of our interns, they all had their groups of clients.
Mm-hmm.
This therapist would just get frustrated and angry at another therapist
Oh.
because that therapist's client was picking on one of her clients.
Oh, Christ.
Oh,
Good.
okay.
Good.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, and so that was kind of the dynamic.
Oh, God.
And then we're just like, hey, this is not.
Yeah.
This is
Thing.
this. We've got 50 women here,
Yeah.
and we put them all in one
Yeah.
building and small.
Yeah.
They're gonna fucking
What's
Have you
wrong-
ever
what's
seen
wrong
Lord of
with
the
that?
Flies? All right. Yeah.
this is-
Somebody's
or-
going to sever a pig head and put it on a stick.
Or
you been
Real
to-
Housewives of Atlanta, even like this is gonna
Shit's
happen.
going down.
And so
Drug
it's like,
addicts in
this
one
is-
room.
But like it was nothing. Everything was personal.
Yeah.
And we worked on this for so long, and finally, I had to write a letter to the board, and I was like,
Yeah, I don't recommend.
I'm ending my relationship with this therapist.
Yeah,
And this person should probably not be a therapist.
man.
And it was not easy to do. It sucks to have to do it, but like it's an important role because like this shit shouldn't happen.
Right.
This person should not be licensed. So, students and interns out there, let's count the ways that
How
this
many did
person.
you find?
How many fucking rule breaks did you catch in this very short
Take
story?
a drink every time.
Yeah.
Every time you hear an ethics
Yeah,
violation.
get an IV drip going though.
Yeah.
get 911 on speed dial.
Yeah.
You will need to be resuscitated by the time they arrive.
Jeez.
So, okay, a couple of violations here. So, one is the obvious administrative failure. Well, actually, okay, let's go all the way back to the beginning here. So, a poor therapy approach when you're oversharing in session. We all will use some what we call self-disclosure. We will use our personal stories sometimes, but we use that to help your work, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a patient telling me about their anxieties, I may tell them a story about some of my anxieties, and I may choose the amount of vulnerability I want to portray in that and how much sensitive information I might share, but it is for the greater good of here's a story you might relate to Let's learn from that together, right? But if I'm just sitting there belly aching about my challenges every day, and that's beyond just relating to you or just making some conversation, making light of something that's happened to me recently or whatever, if it's really spending half the session talking about my real life and soliciting your actual feedback on that shit, there's a violation right there. Now, I don't know that I would take that to ethics. I wouldn't say this is an ethical violation. I would say this is unprofessional and unskilled, right?
Yeah.
And coming back to your point, Nick, if that's my supervisee, we need to train. Like, you're doing this badly. You're doing bad therapy. Let me help you realize, I think I know what you're trying to do. Let me help you right-size that and it becomes skillful. So that was already a big strike right there. Not the end of the world. The next move, I think, is the administrative stuff. Canceling sessions sporadically all the time. We have something called the expectation of care, right? People are coming to us for health care, and even if they're not high acuity, they deserve routine and expected health care, right? If a doctor's office keeps shutting down all the fucking time whenever they don't feel like operating, the patients will get sicker. Like, that's not okay. So your administrative responsibility is to be available at the level you kind of presented yourself at as in the beginning. You still have to cancel things. That happens, and sometimes it's unavoidable. But to the point where the patient's wondering if it's them, if they've done something wrong, even if you're
I think that's part of that codependency or enmeshment built, because even if a therapist was canceling often, I think it would be rare in a healthy dynamic to think it's me. You just like, wow, I wonder what's going on with them.
Right.
You'd maybe put it more on them, but the fact that your ex-writer said that, oh, maybe I did something wrong, that just speaks to how enmeshed they were, like,
very
or whatever.
enmeshed.
Well,
And also poor communication from the therapist part.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've all had to make cancels, and I've had cancels or something bad happens in the world, and like I need to suddenly, or I've had situations where I look at the calendar and I have to cancel for something, and I'm like, oh my God, it's this person again. They are so unlucky.
I
They
know.
keep being on the one spot. Like, I've had situations where I have to contact them and
Yeah.
go, you're not going to believe this. I have to cancel this again. But like, there's an effort to try to do harm reduction, which I think we have a responsibility to do, which is like, hey, let
usually
me
it's
explain.
reschedule. Like,
Right.
can you
We're going to
meet a different
reschedule. I am
day?
so sorry. This unique thing has come up. My Tuesday evenings, I think, are turning out to not be available because I keep having to cancel on you. Let's talk about a different day entirely or whatever. So clearly therapist failed there. Again, is it all the way up to unethical? I would give the benefit of the doubt here and say, again, really bad professionalism. Who was your mentor?
Yeah.
Like, who are you accountable to? You're not very good at this, right?
Yeah.
So, like, again, I would still stop short of ethical violation. Setting patient up to move in with a family
Dear
member
God.
of the fucking therapist.
What the fuck?
That's
just by
amazing.
itself, right
Oh, yeah,
there.
yeah.
Full stop.
That's
Yeah.
not
Never.
that's only half the
That's not
equation.
even the worst part. But you've already violated all the ethics. You
Holy
violated something called dual relationship, which is I have now created a new dynamic with you beyond I am your therapist, you are my patient, and that is the only relationship we have. I have match made you into a living situation.
We've actually used a very, very similar example because I teach a course on clinical supervision.
You should take this letter, by the way. and
Oh.
bring
Oh, I
this.
should.
You should be using
This
this
is a
letter.
real
This is
letter.
a great
To teach
example.
with.
Yes.
This is a really great. I might
Yeah.
do that. No, but so we use a very similar example when we talk about ethics, and the vignette that we use is the client gets kicked out of their house or some situation they're renting someplace. And the therapist refers the client to their cousin who's a realtor.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And like it, and this is one of those situations where in Vegas we look at that and we're like, are you fucking kidding me? That is so stupid.
Yeah.
But me, I come from small town Iowa, 2,000
Right,
people,
right.
and this shit happens.
There may only be
regularly.
one realtor.
Yeah, because this is just
Yeah.
the number
Or
of
there's
people
two
you know.
realtors, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
that one happens to be my cousin.
Yeah.
There is, I'm glad you brought that up because there is room for cultural adjustment in a lot of situations. But there are several strikes on this. This one story all by itself, the cousin thing is just a fucking nuclear bomb.
That's
and it
great.
isn't even the
Oh
worst
my
part of the whole letter
gosh.
yet.
Yeah.
No.
But like, it's unbelievable. So like, strike one, students, students and interns out there, you cannot take the client and introduce them to a member of your family and encourage them to start any kind of relationship with your family member, because now you can see client at the barbecue.
Yeah.
You can now see client at the family reunion. You now see client in these other contexts, and you have created a new relationship with that person. They are no longer just your patient. They are now the roommate of your cousin. You shouldn't be seeing them anymore. If they had started off as roommate of your cousin, you would not have taken the case. So you've created a dual relationship. Now, if they accidentally become roommate of your cousin, and you didn't facilitate that, that can happen in life. They start dating somebody, they didn't know that was your cousin or whatever. Okay, that's outside of your control. But if that were to happen, you would have to take countermeasures.
Yeah.
And including probably referring them out to ensure that you could never bump into them in the world and cause any harm to them. So already that was bad. But then you got extra bad. You poured hot sauce on this shit because you created a financial relationship. Your roommates, that is a financial relationship, which means your cousin has financially benefited from you referring your patient to live with them. That is unethical right away. Like, that is all sorts of, you've just stepped in a nice
Honestly,
big pile of
the
dog
only
shit.
thing missing here is a kickback.
Yeah, the cousin sends you the therapist a fee and says, hey,
that's
by
it.
the way, thanks for the hookup.
Yeah,
here's
which we
$1,000
don't know
bucks.
didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Yeah, I mean, if that did, then we got Yahtzee, I think. At that point.
At that point, bingo is being called on the board. Then on top of that, I'm knowingly putting my patient, who is in early substance abuse recovery, into a situation that is with another person who actively abuses substances.
This is a therapist who knows nothing about substance use disorder.
This letter screams that. I mean, there is no chance this therapist has ever taken even a CEU on any of this shit, or has even, I think they're an amateur. I think that they're like, they have to be an intern or a student.
Yeah,
like
that's
this
what I'm
seems
wondering.
like somebody who's literally never been like, it's
gotta be,
Were
right?
you just born yesterday? Like, how do you must have never even met an addict.
Yeah.
To have this level of incompetence. Like, how would you ever think that would work?
Right.
Like, I'm just going to take this match and put it over here in this oil tanker, and I'm sure everything will work out.
Yeah, the analogy I always like to use, in situations like this is like, if a toddler is learning to walk, they're not holding the hand of another toddler.
Oh
there
my
you go.
God.
That's perfect.
Like that is exactly what's happening in this situation.
Two people in early recovery living together. I'm sure it'll all work out.
Yeah.
So the therapist exceeded their scope because they are probably trying to give advice or treatment or recommendations for treatment, pairing you with a sober roommate on something they don't know anything about. And so
Right.
all of these problems manifest just in that one story. And of course, there was all these extra harms. So that was a mess. Then the one about X tells the therapist what they want to do for a job. Therapist takes it upon
Oh my
themselves to
gosh.
call and serve as a referral.
God,
The
I
hell?
forgot
I
about
forgot
that
about
one.
that too.
Right.
I was like, yeah, these are bad. Then you
The
mentioned
cousin
that
one is so awful that you're like, wow, this person. Wait, there's
it
more.
got worse.
How about the part where therapist violates HIPAA by one, making the call? That was
Oh my
already a violation of
God.
HIPAA. Two, revealing client's sexuality to the employer.
Yes.
Fuck my therapist doing this. I would be pissed off if just someone I knew did
Just
this.
a person
Oh my
existing.
God.
Yeah.
Or your professional referral. Let's say that you actually had a friend that you were saying, hey man, could you be my referral for this job?
And
And
they
the
said
job
that.
called your friend and your friend was like, he's gay, but not like that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
gay.
So-
That's the end of our friendship.
Okay, so this is the part that confused me. The therapist was saying, okay, oh my God, there's so many components.
Patient is talking to therapist.
Yes.
Patient says, I want to
I
work
need a
at
job.
company X.
Yeah,
Yes.
at the Amazon
And
factory.
therapist says, I know somebody who works at company X.
Or let's
I'm
call
gonna
them right
call
now.
company X right
Yeah.
now and vouch for you.
You
Now, they
said
don't
your fr-
usually hire the gays, but I'm going to cover that too.
So therapist calls company.
Don't worry about
says,
it. I
hey,
got it.
My name is
Any group
therapist.
that you say the.
Yeah. The gays.
Okay.
I have friend that works for your company, and I think my other friend patient would be
Yeah.
a great fit.
So which one did she out? Her patient or the
She
the
also
other
references a friend that she has.
I thought that was
there.
the
Okay.
guys or the.
That's how I read the letter.
person? Okay.
Yeah, I think
Either way,
Yeah.
I guess
Either
it doesn't
way.
matter.
therapists should
There's
not
no-
be contacting anybody and revealing anything about patient.
No.
Like that cannot happen unless with patients. Like
Well,
I
yeah,
have
because it
had
said his friend was bombarded with the
So
questions.
Even if the
Yeah.
patient asked you to do that, it seems like you shouldn't do that.
I've
Well,
seen
so here's the thing.
situations where go ahead.
Technically, it may not be a HIPAA violation.
If you had permission
No.
or that in session.
No.
Okay.
What?
If there's no connection back to how you know the person.
Oh, okay. You're just
Wait,
just acknowledging.
Oh, okay.
If you just call and say you should hire this person.
Yeah. I'm just calling as a reference for so-and-so.
If you don't call and say,
you're not
hey, this is
saying-
one of my patients that's
Yeah,
applying for
exactly.
But it
I
doesn't
see.
say that.
Yeah, so then it's,
It says his therapist, like the friend was bombarded with questions about the mysterious gay guy who got his therapist to call and vouch
Oh, that's
for him.
There you
right.
go.
Never mind.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Like,
Way to try to steal man.
tried
Way to
for a
you were
second.
being a mensch. You were like, this can't possibly be as
they
insane as it fucking sounds.
covered all their
There's
bases.
no way
That's
this person
right.
would
They
have done
wrapped
that.
it up, tied it with a
They
bow.
have to know about HIPAA.
Nope.
Nope. They sure as shit don't.
It makes
I tried.
It makes me seem like if I were
You sure did,
applying
buddy.
at like Venture or whatever, or like you're my therapist and
Yeah.
wherever y'all worked, like, and I applied there, and then I'm like, oh, my buddy Jim works there, and you're my therapist. She's like, let me call up there
Let me
right
just
now.
call
Who'd you apply with?
Yeah.
Oh, Jim works
I have
there.
a
My
buddy.
client, blah blah blah,
Yes.
like knows him.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God.
violations.
That's weird.
This is insane.
It's just bizarre.
So should we call the board?
Let me ask you this though. Hold on. Let's
Go on, Nick.
let's give the therapist a chance.
Devil's advocate.
Are there any ethical violations the therapist didn't violate?
I don't think therapist is having sex with client, but I'm not
Yet.
ruling it out.
Okay, well, can we
on the way.
Have
Can we
you
give
seen-
credit where credit is
What
due?
about the cousin?
Have you seen John Mulaney's
I
new
don't think
stand-up,
I don't think he's having
Baby
sex with his
J?
cousin
I
either.
haven't. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
In his new stand-up, he tells a story about how his drug dealer was dealing him drugs for a long time, and then one day he calls to break up with his drug dealer from rehab, and the drug dealer's really proud of him and is like, "This is great for you, John. I'm so proud of you. This is great." And he's like, "Thanks, man. I really thought you'd be more upset." And the drug dealer was like, "I don't deal drugs. I'm professionally a painter." And John was like, "What? But you dealt me drugs?" Like, "Yeah, because you kept asking me, and I was scared you were going to get them from somebody else. So I went out and found them and got you drugs. I don't deal drugs. You're the only guy I bring drugs to."
Oh my
And
gosh.
John was like, "You pretended to be a drug dealer to help me?" I think that's what's going on here. I feel like this person's not a therapist, but they were in the building.
Might be a painter.
And like X came into this building and was like, "Oh, are you my therapist?" And they were like,
I can't
It's
be.
like if it's,
"Yeah, you
it's
seem
like,
to need to talk.
like if Creed-
sit down."
if
And like
Creed
that's
became
why
a
they've been canceling and stuff is because they can't get into the building, but they're really like the maintenance lady or something.
Yeah,
Like,
today my key didn't work.
I think that's what's really going on. Like, I feel like this person is pretending to be a therapist.
That
and
makes the most
honestly-
sense out of anything I've heard so far.
It does, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's just the custodian. She was there that day,
Right.
and she's
Yep.
like, "Oh
my
no,
cousin needs a
you're the real
roommate.
therapist just left. There was a family emergency, but you seem
Kinda
like
does.
here's my
this
personal
background
number."
Story makes
Right?
a lot of sense.
If you just tell it that way, you go, "Oh, God bless her." Like,
Yeah,
she's
she's
really
trying.
trying.
She's
Like,
trying.
doing- she has no idea what she's doing. She's driving through a snowstorm, man. She's in way over her head. But she's trying her best. So I think if we look at it that way, she's really the hero of the story.
That's
each
right.
other out.
She's done a lot of good. Like, really, half the session, huh? You talked about his
Yeah.
life.
She shares
That's
her
really
stuff
good.
with
Yeah, just like, look, I don't have a lot of resources or tools, but like, let me tell you
This
how
is going
I
on with
stopped
me.
doing drugs. It's starting to add up.
I got a cousin that needs a roommate.
Yeah, maybe I
your
can help
boss.
solve a practical. You need a job? All right, let me just make a call. I don't know. I know how to call people. I can try that.
my buddy Vinny. He works up there.
We can work it out. So, do we report this person? What are our feelings? Because
Okay.
every state's different about this.
Yeah,
Oh my
and this is
gosh.
where it's going to be really dependent on the state.
Yeah.
So,
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you report this,
Florida,
I'm trying
you're
to
good.
look.
You don't report. It's normal.
California, you're probably good too. No, so what's going to happen? You report it. The board's going to have to send somebody to investigate it. How do you even investigate this?
Yeah.
Like that's where they're going to run into a problem.
DNA test.
And you got to
with the
keep in mind,
cousin.
Ryder, it's tricky because let's say that I'm working with a member of a couple, right? I'm working with wife, and husband thinks I'm doing a bad job because wife is, let's say, standing up to him or something new. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Your therapist is poisoning your mind against me. I'm calling the board."
Yeah.
And then that happens all the time.
Sure.
And so so boards have to take everything with a grain of salt. If you're not the injured party, but you say, "Look, I think this should," now listen, Ryder, in fairness, if you just tell them this letter, I think they're going to be like, "Well, holy shit."
Yeah,
They're gonna investigate.
They're gonna definitely investigate.
up.
It's
Yeah.
really just going to be an issue of how do they go about doing that.
Yeah.
And this is where every state is different. I mean, I'm sure some states can just come in and they can just say, "Hey, this complaint was issued. We need to see your clinical records.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what's going to start. It's going to start with a review of clinical documentation.
Right.
Which I'm going to guess there isn't a whole lot there.
my
As far as
God.
clinical
Bold
documentation.
of you, Tangeman.
Not
Have
from the
ye
janitor.
no faith?
Janitor
I'm
doesn't
willing
know.
to bet she doesn't have an office.
Well, she's in somebody else's office,
Hold
man.
on, hold on. She's the one going through the drive-through, or those BetterHelp clips where the therapist has sunglasses on inside their house and is just walking around their house
Yes.
during therapy.
Yes. Yeah, so if there was, but this is what's tough, right? Because if Ryder, I can appreciate, because Ryder says this at the end of the letter and says, look, I don't know if it's my place. Like, if my ex is going to this, I want to try to coach them away from it. Is it my place to, like, just shut this lady down? And it's a hard question. 'Cause is that going to backsplash onto my friend?
No, here's the thing. I think you report it,
Yeah.
put it on the board's hands.
Yeah.
Do you do
Let
it
them deal with
anonymously?
that.
Do you just say, look, I don't feel comfortable providing my
You
information?
could.
Which you can do.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
definitely do that. And you can just say, I mean, with all of this information here, you just give the person's name, let the board deal with it.
Yeah.
And if the board finds sufficient evidence to be able to do something, to take action in
Yeah.
this, they will. If they don't, or they can't get enough information to actually take action, then there's nothing they can do, but you at least did your part.
And I guess it could be anonymous.
I was going to
Yeah.
say at the very least, hopefully, if a board investigation was opened up or inquiry was opened up, hopefully the therapist, the so-called therapist,
I think it's a custodian.
Yeah.
I do.
hopefully at the very least, they will change some behaviors for the future. Like you're
Yeah.
at least helping someone down the road potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the PhD in the room,
Oh,
I disagree
sorry.
with all three of
Yeah,
you.
you know
Oh,
what?
okay.
We're
All
being
right.
silly. We should
I-
have gotten Jacob.
I
on
think this is much closer to a what do you do when your friend is dating someone that you don't like
Okay.
than anything else.
Yeah.
Because I think if you report this, a wedge is going to be driven between you and your ex, who is now your friend.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
shit's gonna happen.
Okay.
So like if you're worried about that relation, if you're worried about like if kind of your hierarchy of concerns, Ryder, is your friend's overall mental health and their mental health care and those types of things, and if this is truly altruistic on your part, and you have no care or you have a secondary care about your relationship with this person,
Yeah.
then report away.
I see.
But if your main goal is to make sure that you preserve that friendship, this relationship that the two of you have,
Right.
I think all you can do is tell that person, hey, this sounds bizarre to me. A lot of this stuff sounds wrong to me. I'm gonna say that, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then when this implodes on itself, I will be here for you.
Yeah.
I see your PhD and I raise you a personal training certificate.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Oh shit, we're getting into a
Whoa,
penis
wait,
showing
wait.
contest.
So I can win that too.
Oh, he absolutely should be able to.
Jacob's on a health journey, he said.
Nick said I said that.
Nick said
Put
he
some
said that.
skin in the game, Tangeman.
I agree with everything you said.
Uh-huh.
However, I still think you do it. And
Okay.
here's why. Because I think you could do it. Number one, you could do it anonymously.
I mean, it's certainly the right thing to do to report this.
Sure.
That's not a bad thing.
because this your friend isn't this therapist's only client.
Of course,
yeah.
as far as we know.
Yeah.
I guess
The
they might be.
custodian.
and
Custodian, I
and
think.
if that is the case, an anonymous report will not
Will not
do
work
anything.
well.
You talking about Bill?
I don't know who this is. Yeah.
My only client.
You talking about this person's only client? You talking about Bill?
Only clients. Like only fans.
Only
Okay,
clients.
sorry.
All right, I got dark.
We're taking the
All right.
route down
We're coming back to that.
Okay.
But
dang it.
Whitney's weird only clients email list that she has.
Talking about inappropriate therapists. Seems in line.
Custodian trying her
no,
best.
I think so. I
You
think
judgmental bitch.
Hero.
okay. Which is another? Here's the other thing.
This custodian's
And
gonna
serious-
call us.
This
All of you.
This actually was a serious concern that I had.
Right.
Okay.
If the writer wants to report this to the board, the writer's going to have to figure out what board this person
Yes.
reports to.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Well,
Yeah.
In which
you just
case,
Google that, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe, I mean, who knows if this therapist is even putting that information available.
Right.
You know, is that going to be a social work board, a mental health board? Is that going to be, what board is it?
You got to be
exactly?
sly.
Yeah.
You got to be
track
sly
down.
and ask your
So,
ex.
so number one, I would start there. I would report it anonymously. You know, because like if this is happening with your friend, this is happening with every single client that this person works
Yeah.
with.
You think
I
all of her
guarantee
clients live with her cousin?
There's a lot of people in that.
It's a big house.
It's not zero. I'll tell you that. I mean, and there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. And when there's an investigation like this, like all the details and the information like that isn't going to be known to the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so like
Yeah.
your friend is not going to find out all of the details and then be able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh my God, that's about me. It must be so-and-so.
I think the therapist is going to tell him.
The therapist won't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah,
looked
the
into.
therapist won't know.
Okay.
So what'll happen is...
Because I
they'll-
think if the therapist learns any of those details of this
Oh,
complaint, then they're going to tell the patient.
Probably.
Like
I
the
think
letter.
you're right.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they did. Here's what I think would happen. If you report this to the board...
Do we know what state this is in? Do they
No,
say?
we
Okay.
don't. If this gets reported to the board, most likely what's going to happen is the board is going to have to investigate. So they're going to send somebody, and the first thing they're going to look at is they're going to look at client records.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to go to the therapist and they're going to say a complaint has been filed. They may say here are some of the things that have been, but it'll be pretty general.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be very specific.
You don't think this investigator is going to be like, is one of your patients living with your cousin?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. They will probably
Because
say
if I were the investigator, I would lead with that.
most likely what they would say is they would say something to the effect of that there are allegations about dual relationships.
Okay.
Allegations about
Dua Lipa?
Yeah, Dua Lipa.
Exactly.
HIPAA violations.
HIPAA violations, all sorts of stuff like that. We need to see a sample of your records. And then if I was investigating this, what I would do is I would make sure that one of the records that I reviewed was this client's
I
record.
see, but you'd take a general
But I wouldn't.
sample.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I would
But you'd
say
make it look like it was just a random
yes.
selection.
Yeah. And if that client's file wasn't in there, then I'd ask for, can you give me 5 more? And I'm going to ask for 5 more
Until
until
you
I get
find
that
it.
record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would read through all of that, and then I would file my complaint based off of everything I've seen. And it's not going to be based off of one record.
Okay.
It's going to be based off of a multitude of.
Again, assuming this person has multiple clients.
We're kind of getting a little bit into the weeds, but like for the writer, I think a couple of things here and general information. So I think a lot of people have really a lot of misunderstanding about what a complaint does. It's not like if a complaint gets lodged, a therapist immediately gets blackballed out on the street, they're put in prison. Usually, even whenever there's a finding, and so a board has looked into it and said, hey, yeah, this is gray, this doesn't look good. A lot of it comes back to training. Like a lot of times they'll say, okay, we're going to require you to get back into the workshop here because clearly you do not understand some shit.
Which honestly I think is the most probable outcome.
Yes.
Because again, if we're doing, unless the investigator is going to contact the worker at Amazon and interview them, which they're not.
Right.
No.
They're going to base their record solely off of clinical documentation. Maybe they would interview some clients, but most likely not. It's going to be clinical documentation, which again, I'm going to guess is complete bullshit.
The therapist's
It's
not
gonna be
writing
terrible.
down
No,
great news,
Nah.
journal.
Yeah.
I called on his behalf
Yeah.
and told the Amazon man this.
Most
or,
likely
whatever.
what's going to happen is whoever's investigating this is going to realize like, okay, I don't have anything to be able to put this person on any kind of probation. However, I can say that they need more training and I can require these trainings.
And boards are not going to start contacting the patients because
No.
that causes harm, right?
Yeah.
So they don't do that. If patients allege something, then sure, they're taking their statement and they'll follow up with them. If the patient is being spoken about, and again, going back to my example of if the husband doesn't like the therapy I'm doing with the wife, he cannot weaponize the board of examiners to harass his wife's therapy, right? So that's not how it works. So a couple of different angles on this. One, yes, you could do the anonymous complaint. that will go pretty much how Nick has described it. There is, as Jacob pointed out, always the potential for some maybe backlash. And I think Nick's right that we probably don't have to worry too hard about that. But I think Jacob's right that if you're going to do it, you have to kind of, in the back of your head, make peace. This could affect your relationship somehow.
Yeah.
And if it means that much to you that you say, you know what, I'm willing to lose our relationship to protect you from a bad therapist, and I think this person's become that threatening, then I think Jacob's point is there, saying, okay, then hold your nose, take your medicine, go do what you got to do, accept the possible consequences. I can see two other possibilities that we could probably get around the same thing. Three. One, I like the angle that Ryder's already taking of, I'm really trying to help you understand why I don't think this is a great idea. And I'm also doing that without overstepping and losing our relationship or alleging too much that you don't want to talk to me about this anymore, right? But clearly X is opening up to Ryder and saying, yeah, this is kind of weird, huh? You know, like I haven't been doing good. And like Ryder's saying, X, I don't think this is good. You know, I'm like, okay, good. So I think that's helpful. And sometimes that's doing a lot of good in the person's work that we don't even see. Other alternative, talk to X and say, I would really love to see you talk to another therapist at least 3 times and get a second opinion about some things.
Tell that person what you just
And
told
watch
me.
their face closely.
Now, here's why this is a great idea. Because one, it probably is good for X to start something with a new
just play them
therapist
this
anyway.
podcast. Just play them
But
this
two,
episode.
the other therapist is absolutely legally compelled to report the first therapist. You don't have to tell X that part, but that way you don't have to do shit, Ryder, because the second therapist will go, wait, you did what?
That is
You moved in with their fucking cousin?
True.
What? And then when they start saying, yeah, and then, you know, therapist told me to do this illegal shit, like other therapist is going to be compelled to report first therapist and now also, and we'll understand exactly the nuances of the rules, right?
Yeah.
So now you're in better hands. So that could be possible too. So that would be another possibility, which honestly, if we can get X to try out a new therapist at all, even if the goal is not to report first therapist, but just to try to get some diversity in X's life, that would be tremendous. People are always scared to try a new therapist when they have a good rapport with one, but a lot of people are willing to work with a second person to get a different perspective on things.
Yeah.
So there's a way to frame this as none of
Second
this is an
opinion.
indictment on your first therapist. I just want to make sure you're getting even more support. You seem to be doing well in therapy. Let's add more brains to this. Let's see if we can get more expertise. I looked up this person. They seem to have expertise on this area that I know you've been struggling with. What if you gave them a try? So that's always a possibility. Third idea. And this one's a little brazen.
Okay.
Stay with me.
Okay.
Ryder, you start seeing therapist.
Nope. Forget everything else that was been said. This is the answer.
When
Undercover
therapist
boss.
asks
Wow,
you to
Jacob
do
and
illegal
Jim.
things.
This is our official response to this
Therapist
letter.
asks you to
I
like
might
do
edit
drugs
everything
with
else
therapist. And when therapist asks you to do illegal things, like let's say it was do drugs with therapist, do it. Do the drugs.
You're not getting in trouble.
With the therapist. Now you have a case. You can be the vigilante.
Yep.
And now this has nothing to do with your ex anymore. You'd report the therapist because you did drugs with them.
I am really glad that we got to the correct answer.
And
Took a while.
done.
It took a while, but we
Therapist
got
is
it.
like, I think you should
Yeah.
come over to my hotel room tonight. And you're like, sounds fucking great.
Sounds amazing.
Let's
there at
go.
6.
I'm gonna
I'll
be
bring a
homeless.
6-pack. Let's have a great night.
Yeah.
And I'm going to film the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
Get
I'm
those
just saying.
glasses that have the hidden camera in them.
Yes. Yes.
It's not that hidden.
This is how you just sting operate.
Yeah.
You know, this is the Chris Hayes move.
Yeah.
Is that the guy from To Catch a Predator?
One of the Hansen. Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen. That's it. Yeah. Chris Hayes, no idea who that is.
Yeah.
I think that's an MSNBC host. Anyway. So, Ryder, there are a lot of twists and turns to this, but I'm
And they're
glad for this
delightful.
question. I'm glad for this question because it allows us to educate the audience, those who go to therapy, and those who are out there practicing. And it also allows us to, I think, shine a light on situations like this because Nick's right. What he said earlier, we tend to default to defending the therapist perspective, and they're supporting our colleagues' clinical judgment and pushing people back toward the work. But we have to acknowledge there are bad fucking therapists in the world, or great custodians. I don't know which side I'm on yet,
Okay, custodian.
or really heroic custodians
Yeah,
trying their best.
We don't know anything about their custodial skills.
Yeah.
Good point.
To be fair.
Yeah. And honestly,
They
judging
can-
from their therapy
You
skills,
can suck at both.
I'll bet you it's possible they're leaving a lot of shit unclean.
Yeah.
I'm
Nah,
just
I
saying.
feel like they're a good custodian.
Yeah,
They can clean up some shit.
They're pretty good at cleaning up some shit.
No, they're good at sweeping
Starting
shit under the rug.
That's right.
They know how to
There
run
it
a
is.
floor
I was
waxer.
reaching for it. That's the one. Yeah.
I love this question. I wish there was one definitive answer. The truth is, every decision you make is going to have potential consequences. But I like that we're wrestling with this. And I like that it gives us an opportunity to talk about how we don't want bad therapists to exist. We want them to grow. But a lot of people are afraid to do anything at all. And ideally, though, and this comes back to the writer, writer is firstly concerned with X, not with a bad therapist existing in the world.
Right.
And I also don't want writer to feel it is their moral responsibility to get out there and get this therapist off the street to like protect the world. I don't want writer having to take on that burden, right? Because at the end of the day, writer has one person they care about, and it is X. And if they feel like that jeopardizes X wellness, or in their view jeopardizes their relationship to X or whatever, I don't want writer to feel burdened to get out there and clean up the streets. It's the board's job to catch this person. And if they're a shitty therapist, by the way, this is coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not just a one-off fucking thing.
No.
There's a saying that what doesn't come out in the wash comes out in the rinse.
There
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, like this is if you don't report this person, eventually
It's gonna
this is
be
gonna
fine.
come out.
Yeah. So you're allowed to say, look, I'm just going to play the long game. I'm going to just keep focusing on my friendship. I'm going to keep coaching my friend. I'm going to keep dropping hints or finding other alternatives and trying to nudge them to try something new and just hope that they eventually outgrow this person and move on and that the damage is minimized in the meantime. If that's your path, I support you in
We
that.
get it.
I don't want you to feel like, you have to do this.
You don't have a responsibility here.
Just
No.
go drinking with the therapist. That's
Yeah.
obviously the move.
Other than signing up for therapy with the therapist, you have zero responsibilities here.
Well, clearly that's what we expect you to do. And wear a wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely wear a wire. That sounds like the
that'd
best
be such a great
option.
addition to our show. Is just them just doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're on
undercover
Patreon.
boss.
Oh, that's it.
Okay, if you're in Patreon though, can and you feel like unanonymizing yourself.
Got it.
That's a word.
That's
yeah.
a word.
Whitney, you're doing great.
List the illegal things.
Yeah. No, I want to know the
And tag
illegal
Jacob.
things. Please tag me, because
Yeah.
then I won't be able to find it if you don't.
You're welcome.
Jacob
Yeah.
does not want to be tagged in anything.
Yeah.
Except this.
Yeah.
You have piqued Jacob's curiosity.
I wanna know the
how hard
illegal
that
things.
is?
Yeah.
In 8 years, he's never asked anybody to tag him.
He said, "If you tag me, I will look." But this, he said, "Tag me."
Yeah. I'm requesting a tag.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, writer.
You can also just DM me on there as well.
That's fair too.
just
And
email
Jacob will
him.
read them to us.
And then I will read them,
Yeah.
and I will protect your anonymity.
There we go. There
Here's
we
my
go.
address. If you happen to be in Vegas,
just sit down.
stop by.
Come
Get
have a
you a
whiskey.
coffee. We'll talk this over. I need to know the deets. Oh, writer.
If
good
you're in
luck with
Vegas,
this.
you can come
Yeah.
on this show next week.
There is no easy answer.
We'll disguise your voice. We'll do the whole thing.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Anyway, writer, good luck with this.
doing this.
We would love updates. If whatever comes to pass, please update us. And I was definitely joking about actually going to see this therapist.
I'm not.
Don't do that. Though Jacob would love you too, and would
I'm
love all
not.
the hot goss. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are wrapping up the show. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Don Malia, Richard Basie, Sammy Boy, Sonny Boy, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slippery Kaye, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Elena, Sam Cohn, Jake Schneider. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
This is what you pay for, therapy listeners. Well, as we get to the end and we wrap up the show, we do want to remind you, you can power us at patreon.com/therapy, and you can get our extended show ad-free a day earlier, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community and our Monday content. We release deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research, roundups, and rants, all sorts of fun stuff. If you're enjoying all this psychobabble about the Inside Out movies, Emma, our intern, is releasing a series on it. She's already got 2 episodes in the can, and so there's some really great content in there exploring the themes and kind of teaching you about deeper psychology and how the show kind of tries to get at some of those details. And of course, you can listen to 45 extra minutes in today's episode, hearing all about our questions surrounding blackface. Patreon.com/therapy.
Nick's questions, specifically.
But we do have some folks to
curious.
thank for supporting us at patreon.com/therapy. Who are the folks we are thanking this week, Nick?
We got an upgrade to a Therapod.
Upgrade.
That Josh
All right.
guy. Welcome to the party. And a new Therodactyl, Chad Mag.
I like it. Welcome.
Okay.
Thank you for your support.
Welcome.
And of course, we want to praise and deify our theity of the show, the Dark Lord himself, Jim's Fascia. And we'd like to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much they give till it hurts, the Therap partners Dirty B and Pickett. And we especially want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the Therap producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Don, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slapping Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpikai motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Emma Kane, Alina, Cody DeLorean Guy, and Sam Cohn.
And if you would like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. And remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. It's /PodTherapy on Facebook, and we're on Blue Sky as well. Don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Head on over to mentalfitpersonaltraining.com/podtherapy if you want to do the Pod Therapy Fitness Challenge. We start on February 3rd. 3 workouts, 8 weeks. Going to be a lot of fun. And if you want to submit a question to the show, do so anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Jim.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
And if you're looking for cheap rent, we've got cousins that you could live with.
Live with Jim's cousin.
Go to jimscousin.com. We're now accepting applications. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.